motherfuckers.
Even rage.
No, I say goodbye, motherfucker.
No!
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to your doom, bitches.
Welcome to Wizards in the Waste. We might be wizards, and oh lord, we're wasting it. We're wasting it.
And by it, we mean our wizards. Ha.
Yeah.
Hi, Dash. Your bottom's been arguing with the other bottom.
What the fuck, Richard?
What the fuck, Richard?
There they go again. Oh boy.
No, now we're teaming up.
No.
What do you mean, no?
You've been quiet
Okay, now we're
yourself.
arguing.
How many bottoms does it take to untop a top?
I don't
Never
think they're
found
additive in that way. If you add more bottoms, you get.
It's like that's like dividing by a 0.
Oh my god!
Wizard, lizard.
Okay, I'm gonna grab something real quick.
That's now Newt's sound when he joins a voice chat is the lizard.
Lizard.
Has someone made him a lizard button yet? If someone hasn't, I'm going to be supremely upset.
He's made himself a lizard thing in one of the soundboard things in Discord.
Okay, but does he have a PNG tuber for it?
Probably not.
I have a new job.
Okay, it's
Proceed.
very shittily drawn because I only sketched it out. It's hard to see anything, but that's a very quick sketch that I did earlier today of a map of the Endless City. So, there you go.
Where's this being shown?
It is
a
on
plaque on the map.
tile in the game.
Very rough effect.
Yeah.
So, do you guys want to know something kind of funny? Trust said, I don't know if you'll be able to read this. And I went, okay, try me. So she said, and I was able to read everything except the chunk on the left-hand side.
Yeah. He was like, what the fuck is 9 RP
read.
ed?
I was like, what's 9 read?
But yeah. So now we have a little map to reference. I'll actually be making that better eventually. I did try to do it today. I didn't have the time or the gummy bears. So anyway, yeah. Hello everybody. Last time, as a little recap, what happened was we had the tournament arc, just like Dragon Ball. Nova got clapped. Orion experienced being shell-shocked in her brain so hard she fell asleep in the EP dimension in her head, and now is being piloted by Jimmy, who finds this very funny. The literal dragon mercenary who kinda doesn't know what to do because there isn't a dragon to kill, so he's just kind of chilling. Luna became kind of a demigod because she absorbed the power of a super weapon that was almost complete, because it had been fucked up over the years. Fire Fist became queen and only needs to do some trials remaining to get his crown and to get his powers and etc. And he also gained a 1 corruption because he wanted to, and gained another feature, burning that birthday bond very quickly. Yippee!
I point out we had an entire tournament arc and there wasn't a single fight.
Well, there is going to be, and I had this whole thing planned out, but then I changed it last minute because I thought that it would be more fun.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm just laughing.
Oh yeah, the initial plan, the first draft was I was going to have Solstice and Marks fight because I wanted to make Solstice beat the shit out of someone and throw them into the dirt if he wanted what he wanted.
But it's okay. Trust and I had a nice conversation earlier over Cyberpunk, and something else is going to happen. It's going to be fun. Don't worry about it.
Possibly.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So basically, we're going to be continuing on right after the tournament ended tonight. We're not actually going to skip a day. So, let me know when you guys are ready to roll.
Ready?
Sweet. Alice, Terra, Firefist, and Solstice.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Get it.
Cool.
Get this bread gamers.
Firefist won. Firefist won the tournament. So Firefist is now the ruler. So, I would assume, given that the tournament is done, we will be headed on our way back to the Martyr of Starlight for the time being until Firefist is called in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Do we need to go talk to any of the factions, or do we wait till after the coronation?
It's however you want to handle it, really. The way that I've assumed you guys are gonna go is I assumed you were gonna walk back home. But I can definitely swing it and fit it into walking around as well. So
I think I think the king should decide.
yeah.
Oh, it's just gonna be like that now. All right. All right,
Yes.
fine. Let's go back.
Fuck
let's
no,
go
it's
back to
not.
shit.
no,
No, it's fine. Let's go back to the ship. So might as well regroup and take a rest. It's kind of been a weird ass afternoon, if I do say so myself.
Sure.
Sounds
So to be
good.
so to be clear, Firefist, if we call you Your Majesty, you're gonna hit us, right?
No, I'm not going to hit you, but for God's sakes, you guys know me before this happened, and it doesn't change that much, so.
Yeah.
We want to get
bit
enough of this shit from the
concerned-
regular people.
Bit concerned about this whole rights thing, but you'll have to let us know.
Yeah, I've got a plan for that, thankfully.
If
Cool.
it's any consolation, compared to the kings that I killed, I'm sure you'll do fine.
Consider I don't have my head up my arse already, I'd say it's a good start. Most of the royals I've ever met's pretty condescending.
Right? It has to be a good start. So, as we do begin our slow walk back to the Martyr of Starlight, the afternoon's pretty cold. And there's sort of like a still silence in the air. You notice that people aren't celebrating as quite as much as they were before. It's changed to more of a whisper, like a kind of hesitant excitement. Um, they seem very nervous around their new king and second in command, especially given the fact that, well, you know what Luna is. They're beginning to understand a bit of the uncertainty and chaos they've invited into their lives by supporting you and helping you become the rulers of this kingdom. They're not like hating you or anything. They're just very concerned because they don't really know too much about you. They just knew that you had the power to disrupt what was going into play. So,
Didn't think about it before casting their vote. How
Yeah, right.
who could have foreseen that could lead to being a bad idea?
Well, I mean, they kind of knew everything they needed to. He's a wizard, and he did wizard shit. They then proceeded to put a wizard in a royal position,
Well, if
and
he's
now
still
they're worried
himself,
about it.
if he's still himself after the rites, like they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Oh, Firefist. Food for
Yeah.
thought. I found out the kobolds were created by greed as an attempt to be a vessel to absorb corruption.
No, does that not surprise me a little bit?
I don't know. I figured you would enjoy that knowledge and or want to punch someone.
Yeah, I do. I can't do someone, but I think it's gonna be just as sad here shortly when he realizes that his ugly arse is the bottom of the totem pole below what he created.
Oh, is Mark's coming with us?
Marx has politely fucked off.
I think he's going home.
Yeah, he kind of just whenever he saw that his what is effectively a magic version of a nuclear bomb was politely deleted, he just kind of was like, okay, and just left. He didn't want a fucking thing to do with what was happening. With what was happening. You can probably find him, but it's definitely a thing where he is not currently around.
But just before, as he's leaving, mention to him, come see us later once the coordination is done. We'll figure that shit out.
Oh, he's long fucking gone.
Oh.
You'll probably have to go find him. If you had to guess, he's probably going back to where Greed is to kind of end the end out his little
Contract.
contract he had under him.
Yeah, hope he's not gonna get hurt.
It'll be fine. I'll find him later, especially since I'm sure that he's going to have more than a few questions about this, newfound power.
Well, my concern's more that he has failed his contract, or has failed his mission, and he is currently defenseless.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I don't know too much about this Greed fellow, but it's more than likely he's going to have his hands a little full with what's currently going on.
Well, that's not about to change.
Besides, worst case scenario, it'll give us something to do till this royal shaman or whatever comes a looking.
Something like that.
So as we are walking through the streets, you kind of we had to cross like a bridge or two to get to the central plaza, and we're kind of walking back through the street to the Cobalt area. Yeah, there we go. A large armored and glowing figure kind of starts off in the distance, but it becomes very clear very quickly that they are definitely heading our direction. Their suit is like a large bulbous apparatus that's sealed around their whole body. And it is very glowy, very clanky, and heavy. Their back has a large pack that's got like some kind of odd steam radiating out, and in their hands they have a massive weapon. It's not clear what it does, but it is definitely the size of like a fridge.
It's our shaman or somebody looking to pick a fight.
I think someone to be a fight.
Could be the shaman.
Say at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Not really seen anything like
mean-
that before.
I'm fight. Fight sounds like fun.
So Tara, you do recognize immediately what this character is. You've seen them before living in the swamps. This is one of the purifiers that work underneath the kobolds' power. They're kind of like a sub-faction. Their job is essentially to find anything that would potentially disrupt the balance of the delicate ecosystems of the endless city, and to get the hell rid of it. You have not had pleasant experiences with these people before.
I'm absolutely gonna pass on that information to the party. These guys are they're pretty gruff and to business.
Oh yes, they're definitely here for us.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
So
We
wha-
definitely are changing the balance.
If I had to guess, considering the major power shifts just happened, I'd say they're more likely here because of Luna.
They might be here because of Luna.
Be ready for a
you.
fight, but they might just be concerned.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's find out.
we did things the right way, so if they're here for me, well, then they got nothing coming anyway. But still, either way, fun shit's to be found.
I didn't actually have time to make a map for this, so we're just gonna pretend that this is the road here.
Yeah, we've used the arenas for rogue before, so.
Go. I need like a third screen, I swear. Their weapon as they get closer is definitely still active. It's not pointing at anyone, but it is definitely still on and humming. You don't really know what their purpose is for it, but it is certainly active and ready to roll for whatever purpose it is. As the figure gets closer to Firefist, who it is approaching, it's mumbling very loudly. There is a heavy distortion in their voice, and it's hard to tell what they're saying, but their mask is glowing, and it sounds like a low chant.
Can we help you?
The figure like juts out their hand toward Firefist, and there's a crystal in their hand, and you hear them growling loudly again. Like
Nope. Okay. Nope. Mm-mm. Okay. So is that weapon connected to that packet on the back of it? Like tube, maybe?
the weapon is connected to the pack. I will say the hand that they are using to hold this crystal out is not holding the weapon anymore.
Okay. Are they? I wonder if they're attached to that hand mentally, of course, not physically attached, but
Do we recognize the crystal?
You don't recognize what the crystal is. It is you are free to try and make an investigation.
Sure.
Who would like to do that?
I just did.
You got kind of cucked by the die there. Go ahead and give that another roll.
Sure.
Yep,
I
that
succeed.
definitely passes. You recognize you don't like know exactly what this crystal is per se, but you can tell that it's vibrating. Almost like it's vibrating whenever the creature speaks. It doesn't seem to be of high power.
okay, but we know what he is. He's after Firefist. He's holding something that is definitely a weapon.
We don't know that actually. We don't know what he wants.
He's trying to jab a crystal into Firefist. I would like to jab my sword into his abdomen.
I mean, is he trying to jab a crystal into me, or is he just
No,
holding
he's
it
just
out?
holding it out. It's in his hand.
Oh, you said that he took Firefist's
He-
arm and was trying to.
That is not what I
was
said.
holding
I said
crystal.
he jutted his arm out with the crystal in
Jutted
hand.
hit. Sorry, I thought. Okay, I misheard you. Sorry about that.
All good?
Hey man, look, if you don't start speaking actual words to us, this isn't gonna end pretty for anyone here. So
The creature kind of like clacks his right hand against his left wrist and points like very emphatically at the crystal and then points at Firefist.
Wreath is gonna levitate the crystal towards Firefist.
no, what are you doing?
And we'll check out what it is at least.
I'm just gonna ask the guy, are you wanting me to take this crystal? Yes. No, you can nod. That's fine.
The creature like struggles to do so because their armor is quite thick, but they do shake their head yes.
All right. Well, then I will grasp the crystal.
The creature uses like their right hand and like clanks the side of their head multiple times and attempts to point like at the side of their head.
I think he's telling you to put it to your side of your head.
All right. I will hold it up near my head.
Does he hear dialing noises?
I was gonna say, do I hear the ocean or dial up?
Yeah, you hear the horrific sound of a fax machine. No, as you hold it closer to your ear, you actually do begin to hear a clear voice coming from the crystal.
Oh, I will hold it closer so I can hear it distinctly then.
Hello, is it on?
Yes, I can hear you now. It's kind of
Fan-
strange.
Fantastic. Sorry, our suits are quite thick. It's very difficult to speak through them. We don't want any contaminants making it out of the danger zones.
Well, fair enough. What can I assist you with?
Or I'm sorry?
Fair enough. What can I help you with?
Yeah, so I know we haven't met before. And I am to understand that you have recently won the tournament. First off, congratulations. Very happy to hear that.
Thank you. This news definitely travels fast out the kingdom.
Right. Yeah, I am I am the leader of the Purifiers. I'm part of a faction that's underneath the Kobolds. Our job is to protect the major ecosystems of the place you now control, and uh, I need royal power, and I need you to be able to give me like formal permission to do my job.
Oh, gotcha. I mean, it sounds important, obviously, kind of keeping things in balance. So, yeah. What all do I need to give you consent for?
So we have 9 squads in total. One of them actually recently had a bit of an accident. Their suits haven't been maintained for years. Rez was not willing to hear our calls. She didn't care about the swamps, or the Orisu for that matter. So we need the funding immediately to be able to replace their gear and to make sure that their care is appropriate because they were unfortunately contaminated by the section of the waste they were forming or they were working in. And I also need the ability to command the both the purifiers and the factions around our territory, so I can tell them to politely fuck off.
Fair enough. I'd say first and foremost, obviously, get your man taken care of health-wise. That's utmost priority. We'll see about getting Sama taken care of as well. We haven't even made it in any type of formal meeting to find out what kind of budget we're working with, but rest assured, it's on the docket. So let's get your man taken care of first and foremost.
I appreciate that. Thank you. He kind of like you see this creature like they like clack against their head. It looks like they're trying to like open up their mask, but they are just not able to like hit the switch to do so. So they kind of just start like shrugging in their suit. Yeah, sorry, it's a bit difficult to get out of these things, so I figured it was just easier to give you one of the crystals we use to communicate in the field.
Absolutely. It definitely gives me a better understanding. Yeah, sorry about the not as warm hospitality welcome normally when large magical or armored creatures are approaching us. It's not typically for a good thing, so I'm glad that happens to be the case this time it is.
Yeah, I don't imagine the massive, cannon helped either.
Typically not, but you know what? You gotta protect yourself, right?
Yeah, well, I'm only taking a brief break from our duties. We got to make sure we pick up the slack from the squad that was unfortunately taken off guard. If you happen
Fair
to come
enough.
by the swamps, uh, there's a lot of people who have been moving into the swamps recently. Uh, be careful. I'm not too sure about them.
Didn't note it. I intend on touring the entirety of the kingdom just to see what's going on and getting a better understanding, so we'll be sure to keep an eye out.
Are you? Oh right, I can't hear. I assume.
That'd be correct. Virus, are you like
I will relay the information to the party. That way, no one's on edge, especially.
Are you referring to the Sisters of Malice when it comes to the people who are moving into the swamp?
Oh, is that where they came from? That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I'm referring to them. They started moving into some of the abandoned houses in the swamps, and looks like they're starting to set up camp there.
We're definitely gonna have to check out what they're up to.
Indeed. Granted, I'm sure it might be nice for Tara to see some of them again and to get a better understanding of their situation as well.
Well, in any case,
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, we should definitely go see that. That sounds like a great idea, guys. Yeah.
You can stay in the ship if you're worried.
Sounds like you. And as he says this, you see that purple ring turn on, and up in front of his eye it says, "You guys." It's backwards to you, but to him it says "pussy." What the fuck, dude?
Oh, and little heads up for you. Teleporter's been deactivated in the Central Plaza for years and years. Rez couldn't even figure out how to make it work on account of one of the cells being just ripped out of the fucking thing. But apparently, rumors are it recently turned on for a little bit, and there might be a package over there. I'd give that a look ASAP.
Interesting. Do just
Oh, boy.
that, and thankfully we happen to have someone who's a little bit more mechanically inclined with us. So when it comes to energy cells and some of these technologies between Luna and Solstice, one of them might have an idea that will get things more stable anyway.
And Orion, unfortunately.
And Orion. Well,
Yeah,
once Orion's back in the driver's seat, not Jimmy. No offense, Jimmy. We like you.
Thank you.
We'll
I'm glad to
get
be
you some
one.
beer soon.
So how do teleporters work in your world exactly? Because let me tell you, every time I go to a different world, they work entirely differently. I had one where they even killed the person who was trying to teleport, and they put the next person there that was just a clone. You ask me, it's terribly inefficient.
How to say with teleport? That's just murder. What?
Here's a fun fact to you sci-fi nerds out there. That's how the Star Trek ones work.
Yes, they disassemble you atom by atom and reassemble you.
That's
Wait,
the philosophical
really?
debate. What Trust is referring to is a philosophy problem called the Star Trek problem, specifically because of their teleporters, which is if life is a continuation of consciousness, like what does the teleporters from Star Trek imply? Because by all accounts, when you get torn apart atom by atom, you're dead. So
Great. I'm gonna be saying everything about that all night. Thanks, guys.
it's a real philosophy problem because it's interesting that some sci-fis will account for it by soul transference, but there's no mention of the concept of a soul in Star Trek. So
Yeah. And there's also the question of like, if you create another sentient being on the other side and then you force your soul into that body, did you just kill a clone of yourself to be able to be there? But don't worry about that. Anyway, philosophical problems notwithstanding.
That's some altered carbon shit.
Well, in any case, might be a good idea to check that out.
yep.
Indeed. Thank you for the heads up on that.
Yeah, of course, no problem. It might be a good idea to continue doing that tour, like you said. I'm actually really impressed that you wanted to take the initiative and do that. Rez was not particularly friendly on that account. She mainly stood inside of her palace when she wasn't yelling at everybody. So that's at least nice to see. What's
Oh,
up?
yeah,
Sorry?
believe me, she was a pain in the ass when she visited us, too. That's why she didn't last very long.
Right, yeah. Because something happened that we were not involved in. Guys, maybe we should check out that package. What do you think?
If you're worried about us
Sure.
being worried that you killed her, it's fine. A lot of us know. It's a bit of an open secret.
Just say, by the sounds of everything they're in the city, we kind of did everyone a favor.
And also, I mean, it's a pretty typical thing for power to switch places via that method around here.
I mean, we did just gain the leadership via tournament by combat. I don't think they're super bothered by that kind of thing here.
I
Well,
get
yeah,
you.
if I said murder
Thanks for
was
looking
not
out
on
for us
the
on
table.
that.
Maybe they liked her. You never know, man.
Sure.
My name is person. You killed my favorite queen. Prepare to die.
Uh,
Oh,
I'm
there's
sure they
certainly
might.
gonna be.
Say, I'm sure they liked her just about as much as mystical cancer.
Yeah.
We'll find a few of those. We'll get rid of them.
Well,
Yeah.
if you do, and you need help getting rid of some of them, don't worry about it. You can always count on the purifiers.
I like you even more. This is good stuff.
Appreciate it. Thank you. It might not look like it, but people typically scream a lot of things when they're running away from our cannons. We don't like to fire them at people, but if they get in our way, that's what you have to do.
Sometimes it'd be like that. You know how it goes. They don't say it'd be like it is, but it do.
It do indeed. I need to get back to my job, though, but I hope you have a good one. Oh, good luck with the trials, by the way. Heard some rumors that apparently those are pretty rough. Rez didn't seem to make them through them too well.
Yes. Thankfully, I'm a little bit more prepared than Rez, but we'll see. Either way, I appreciate that.
They give they try to give a salute, but it's a little hard to in their environment. And they kind of hold out their hand again to see if they can get the crystal back.
I will hand the crystal back.
They clack their like wrists together and pick up their weapon from like their like the sling basically, and they begin walking back to their business.
Fantastic. We've had a first impromptu floor meeting. It seems to go fairly well, and we seem to find someone who's more or less the guardian of corruption in this entire place. So, good place to start.
The guard the ecosystem corruption's probably part of that, though they seem to be. They're probably some kind of corrupted creature themselves, or at least partially corrupted wizards.
I mean, I can't say much on that front, but
I mean,
it's what it is.
That's not a negative. We know Greed uses them too. But we'll, yeah, I mean, the factions of the city are, for the most part, pretty quirky and fun.
It seems to be that way. I mean, realistically now, should we go find out what package they were talking about, or head back to the motto store?
I have a feeling that the Queen of the Glass Palace might be sending you something.
Great. Hopefully it's not a bomb.
It's
Probably not. But if the teleporters suddenly start working, given all her random involvement recently, it feels like her kind of thing.
Fair enough. I suppose we can inspect that first.
You know, Fire Fist, I have to admit something.
Yes.
I'm kind of glad you took this mantle instead. I would have been scared shitless with that guy walking at me. And I probably would have done something rash.
Fair enough. It's to be fair, I kind of have a little bit more idea about them, but that's to be disclosed later.
I actually have a request of you. It's a odd one. So feel free to decline if you don't want.
All right, you've asked some strange questions before, but go for it.
My specialty. And she stands a little straighter and asks, when we get back to the ship, would it be all right for me to take a blood sample from you?
Blood sample. Well, this is definitely a strange one.
You've housed that white flame for a while, and whatever means that the trials end up doing, whatever the part of that, I want to see how things change.
Yeah, gotcha. Sure, why not?
Oh shit! I didn't even know. I never even went into the watch together. I just realized.
I was saying the
It's
music's
not
really
here.
fitting for this conversation.
Yeah,
That's
it was
funny.
perfect.
I
Holy
love the
shit, I'm
Cat
delighted.
Notebook soundtrack so fucking much.
Yeah, go figure the tab was somehow muted on my side, and even though I didn't mute it.
That's fun though. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
I appreciate you indulging me on that. I promise I won't do weird, like extra weird stuff with it. I'm not gonna drink it or put it in my coffee or something like that. Like, don't worry about that. She
Jimmy
starts
like
waving her hands.
Jimmy like
Squints at
gives you
her.
a side eye and is like, "It's always the alchemist you gotta keep your eye on, even in my world."
It's not. It's not like it's not like you're not used to drinking his fluids. Come on.
I
Hey, this guy gets it. Tara gives him a thumbs up.
oh my god.
Speaking of fluids of various kinds, I am craving a beer.
Wait,
I
what
thought
did
he was
you
gonna say
say?
he needed to piss. I'm going to piss.
I'm gonna piss.
Let's pick up the package. And
Jimmy's off to
Go back.
piss on the moon.
let's go pick up that package and then go back to the Minor Starlight.
Sounds good to me.
Oh yeah. So as you go to the center, or as we kind of like walk a little bit back our steps, on the outer ring of the center plaza, we take one of the supporting roads going to the center, the very center of the plaza, and we see the kind of ruined teleporter. It has large kind of fins or arcs, 4 of them to be exact, that go over this central kind of like glassy surface like we've seen the Glass Palace before on the outside. You see that 3 of the 4 fins have a large cell within them. The 4th has what seems to be the remnants of such a cell, but it is very much kind of fucked. It looks like it was shot or exploded, or maybe someone stole it or something. It's not quite
Does
clear
this,
what happened to it, but it is definitely not functional.
does this
These
look like the
look like
teleporter at the Glass Palace?
It does. It does. It looks a little different, but it does. It looks like kind of a slightly more mechanical version, a little bit more rudimentary version of it.
The cells on it, does it look like what we saw before with the ley line batteries?
It looks a little similar, yes.
Gotcha.
This will be worth researching for you. Teleporter's pretty useful. For a
Do I
keystone.
so.
do I recognize any of this like further than what we can observe currently from having read Esther's journal?
Yeah, you do recognize that the teleporter's function, the way that it works, is that the kind of like the kingdoms all together kind of have they have a we actually heard about this a few episodes before a good while ago before our geek break. The teleporters are operated and ran by the overarching kind of like uh uh council of queens, right? And any place that is deemed to be of big enough concern or power that has one of these is connected to the network that allows very important people to travel quickly between the places. It's essentially like a keystone system. You can key it into the main network, and if you're allowed in, you're connected.
Well, sounds like maybe this place needs to be made important enough to get reconnected.
Tara,
Already had
Agreed.
authorization to use the teleporters at the Glass Palace, so we're probably already on the network. We'll just have to get this one fixed.
And Tara, you actually
Me.
recognize this from many, 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 many years ago. Before you even were like part of the Sisters of Malice, before you had even joined a faction properly, and you were still living deep in the swamps, you remember hearing about the teleporter first being installed. and how it was supposed to be a seed of prosperity for the endless city. But aside from one or two packages, it was turned off and was rarely ever turned back on, if ever. It's kind of become a bit of an embarrassment, or a bit of a point of doubt for the rest of the world to a lot of the residents here.
Never figured out why it ended up not working. It's just been one of those, well, guess it was never meant to be sort of things. She kind of ties up the bit of information to the party.
Huh.
Could be a lot of things. The politics between the Endless City and the other cities has always been kind of rough. And Rez wasn't exactly a diplomat. So let's find out how
Yeah.
that goes.
So in the center of this teleporter's pad, you see that there is a replacement cell with a personal letter that seems extraordinarily ornate that is placed delicately atop it, resting in the center.
Oh.
Sorry, say again?
Basically,
What's
is
this
one of
missing?
those cells that is missing from the third point, right? Or the fourth one, whichever one is fucked. But there is a very, very ornate letter that is sitting atop it. It is
Reef flips that.
unmistakably royal.
Reef will float that to Luna to read it for the group.
Ah, yeah, sure. She fiddles with it a bit because she's trying desperately to not burn it or rip it or anything. She kind of pokes it a bit. It's
Here,
"Meh."
here, here, hang on. I'll open it for her.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see. This is from the Royal Council. It is extending a personal congratulations to the Endless City for their new queen, and it seems to instruct Fire Fist that he is being invited to the next meeting, which will occur in about 3 days' time. The only instructions are to be here with the cell in place at that time, and he should be taken where he needs to go.
Which, does it say which queen it is?
It doesn't. It's just signed by the Royal Council. It does say that you are allowed one extra member as your personal council, though no more are allowed. It seems there's
Probably
a
best.
Huh.
small note on the back, too. It's a little bit more scrawled, though. Hold on. Ah, well, that's concerning. It's a message from Esther herself.
Hi.
Esther.
Hi,
Esther.
Esther.
Well,
Maybe
that?
waited on that.
Well,
Oh, wait, never mind. Doesn't matter.
to be
It's
fair, she
hers,
did
my
send
bad.
the letter. It's probably something she already knows. She hands that over to you, Firefist. And on this letter, there are a few little drawings of eyes, and it says, "Do not forget, eyes are upon you. Mine are the least of your concern."
Sounds like some kind of tactic for intimidation. It's not gonna work.
Hmm.
I'll relay to the group what it said in case that wasn't already apparent.
She's definitely not wrong that you will have a lot of eyes on you, and not as much as there's definitely going to be a lot of other threats from the other kingdoms too, and God knows who else.
No, I have no
mean-
doubts there's going to be some kind of, different threats appearing and probably the potential for espionage of more than one caliber, but not liking this at the moment. Besides, I think we have someone who kind of lives very honestly out loud, so there's not a lot I have to worry about hiding currently.
Yes. Yeah. Uh, I don't know. I don't like this very much. But what I do know is I think I can get that cell figured out.
I had a feeling you might have an intrigue toward it, so if you'd like to give it a shot, please, by all means.
Yeah, sure.
Don't forget, you have the entire kingdom at your disposal for this too.
It's
If you
true,
need help.
but I dare say right now I trust everyone in this party far more than most in the kingdom.
Not sure. I'm just saying if Solstice or Alice or whoever helps out with this need help, we're not.
You know, if
Oh.
I'm not mistaken, didn't you say that you had the help of that crazy bitch? Wasn't that part of her whole deal?
Oh, all right. Yeah, she's a little bit mechanically inclined.
The other crazy
Yeah.
bitch.
Might need to
Oh
be more
God, what was her
specific. We
fucking
know a few.
name? She unlocked the fucking sword.
Oh, don't worry about her.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, I know you're talking about.
yeah. No, we're not gonna. We're
I don't know if
probably
saying
not
her
gonna
name's
see
gonna,
her again.
I don't know if saying her name's gonna cause an issue, but yeah.
At the moment, it might.
Yeah, let's not.
Okay,
Um,
fair enough.
But I mean, if we have to, but that's not going to be costless if we have to ask her.
She also doesn't really want to be here. Anyways, I'm gonna start fucking with the cell.
Yeah, sure. It like lightly reacts to your magic as you pick it up. It seems to just hum in your hands.
Ooh, neat. Is it small? Is it handheld?
It
Is
is
large?
very heavy. It is like it's imagine like the size of like a quite large like water boiler. Um, it's it's a little bit smaller than that.
Oh, like a hot water heater. Is that what you're saying?
It's about the size of just like a like a like a like a water heater, but a little bit smaller, like the gas powered ones. It's about the size of one of those. If you've seen those.
Okay.
Gosh,
Okay.
let's just say, so since you need to get it back to the ship, if so, I'll not be able to carry it.
I mean, we gotta install it here.
I mean,
We're
yeah,
at the.
install it here unless you want to bring your tools here.
Oh, right. Well, let me. Where are the cells in regards to where this one is sitting? Where's the one that needs to be replaced?
It's above you. It's kind of like over here above where Fireface is standing. It's a one of the like the spires that or arcs that go above the teleporter has sort of like a little cage around a busted cell.
I might need a ladder.
You have me.
And how am I gonna get up there?
He
Him.
lifts you up to
I like to imagine Souls is just like rotating slowly.
Yes, he is.
Rotunda. So this
Okay.
looks like the piece of bread strapped to the back of a cat with butter. Just comes this way.
Shut the up, go. God damn it. Fuck amazing.
Yeah.
Hey,
Okay,
this has nothing
okay.
to do with anything.
Yes.
Actually, this isn't out of character. I would like to have a color for the Templars.
Oh, yeah. All of their stuff is sort of like a wrought bronze, sort of like I showed you for the mech. Uh for Lancer,
Mm.
and a mix of that and like gold accents everywhere. It's a very ornate style of building.
Yeah. What's a good accent color for them? Like not gold, but like
Yeah.
because there's a jewel on one of the towers.
Ooh, yeah. Probably like something bright and fancy. Basically,
Okay.
whatever makes you be like, damn, them bitches got money.
Historically, that would be purple or blue, actually,
Yeah.
Ooh. Blue.
because indigo dye used to be worth a lot.
We used to blend it with lapis lazuli, and then we did that until we had Prussian blue. And then Prussian blue, everyone started using Prussian blue, and this is not an info dump for this base.
Prussian blue can be used to treat against radiation poisoning.
What? Why do you? Okay, either way.
And then we came up
Because
with Klein
trust.
blue in like the 70s. So
Firefist, while we quickly do this, do you mind going to see if we can make sure somebody guards the teleporter from now on?
Yeah, I suppose we could do that. Hey, Tara, you want to kind of guide me around in the city here? Because I've only been with the kobolds that's taken me, and obviously not even as a group, so not near any time of loyal inhabitants.
yeah, I'll come with you.
And bring Luna. She's good at this stuff.
So, Luna is definitely the diplomat among us.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm particularly. Well, I guess intimidation's a form of diplomacy as well, but hopefully I don't scare anybody.
Yeah, but this is more administration than diplomacy. We just need to organize somebody having a freaking guard here.
Right. I'm just saying, hopefully I don't make them scream.
I mean,
Well,
if
they
it's
must get used to now if you're going to stay like this since you crossed the other, right?
Oh yeah, I did do that. Wow. I need to get my memory checked out. It's fine.
that's normal for being a wizard. Don't worry. Well, do worry, but
Yeah, remember you guys of you. I'm still up here, by the way. Please, because he's like still lightly spinning around.
Reef
Spinning like a
slowly rotates him.
No, please.
Kata, the kata. Tara's doing Bappy's up.
Right, cat.
Yes. Ooh, ee, ow.
Ooh, yeah, that's not.
Sorry, here. Let me just. There we go. So it's just kind of floating there. Okay.
Help
Yeah.
me, Kane.
I can definitely get somebody over here to do that probably. Well, I guess the best thing to do, I did see a map earlier. There should be an elevator nearby here, actually. I'll just have to go over toward the central district that's underneath the palace and all that, and just head up there. They should recognize me by this point. I doubt there's anyone who doesn't know about me.
Fair enough.
That's what happens when you suddenly absorb giant amounts of power in the middle of the tournament for royalty. In
To be fair,
round one.
that was my backup plan, and I think it worked.
Oh, I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying they definitely know you.
Yeah. You know, as a matter of fact,
Well,
that
if not,
purifier fellow might work.
I mean, they're probably busy with the swamps, but any faction. I mean, who does police the plaza?
I don't know. I'm not that familiar with the Endless City and their ways on this.
Well, between you and
Whoever's running
Tara,
the factions. So usually
in
the
that
queen,
case, I
the
got an
faction
idea.
of whichever queen's in power.
Well, then that's makes it real simple if we need to for the time being. We can just send for some of the kobolds who typically guard most of the mines anyway, and they can assist with this for now.
that would be a
I
fun.
think
That would send a fun message if the kobolds are guarding the plaza now.
Right?
Sure, we can do
All
that.
right,
It makes
I'm
quite a
down.
hell of a political statement.
Do it.
So how did I seem to remember Rez had this thing where she could run really fast. How did she do that? Like you see like Luna like looking at her hands, kind of like shaking one, and it like turns like blue and starts freaking out, and then she's like, okay, perhaps not, and like smacks it against her other one till it stops doing.
We're gonna
Say ho-
need to figure out what your actual spell source is, and then you can work on actually having spells.
Yeah, sure. Because like I
Unless
would hate to, I would hate to say some random words like "hava" and then suddenly just
And
disappear.
maybe we don't try it.
it might accidentally nuke us. Plus, apparently,
as she says that, oh, sorry.
according to Marks, you have multiple magic systems running in you right now. So
Oh shit, that's right. So like I could just definitely say like teleport, and you and you just witness her just
Terra head palms, I fucking told you.
But
all right.
as she wishes past, the person would start spinning soul faster. Help me.
inexplicably Soul's just like
Stop. Constantly key bug all over again. Help me, please.
Ruth tosses him on the cage thingy that holds the.
you're just hanging on this thing by like one of your hands while the other one's holding on to the top of this cell.
You know what? Yeah, I just.
You're doing great, bud. I believe in you.
I'm good. I'm good.
No pressure.
hang on,
Just remember, the last one caused it to stop working, apparently. So if you drop that one, probably the end of the whole connection with the Queen's thing. No pressure, though.
I'll please. As this is happening, the purple ring comes up again. And he's out. This is if this wasn't obvious. This is Andromeda talking to Solstice.
Yeah,
he's
we got that.
He says, "Watch this," and the swords that you've seen him use before turn into wings behind him, and he is hovering himself now. But can you tell me these before you do things?
That's not what we
Please?
agreed
Yeah.
on. I'll have to get
Yeah.
across from that. I'll smite you. I'll do it.
No.
I'll smite you. I'll do it. I'll send a lightning bolt down. I'll do it.
Out on screen right now. That is exactly what we discussed in text, word
We
for word.
discussed it. I told you that. Okay, whatever. It's fine.
I'll use a token. If you want me to use a token.
He's a
But that is what we
goddamn
discussed.
Skarmory. We have a Skarmory Sky Cat.
Ow, it's okay. You escaped God's wrath this one time. I'll let you do it as a demo. It's
Just
okay.
Okay.
I'll give you a freebie.
All right. We can discuss it more, but that's I thought we came to the agreement of that because
We came to the agreement you can do that, but you have to give something to be able to do that. You gotta use your
Okay.
powers, man boy. You got them, you just never use them.
Sold me, Bob.
I mean,
It's
here's the idea:
absurd.
you can take 5 corruption and you can do it for free.
Yeah,
anytime you
exactly.
want.
That's exactly what I told him. I said if you want to do it the normal way, you
No.
can take 5 corruption and do it for free. If you want to do it the Andromeda way, you
Well-
gotta take toxicity from taking potions.
because that
Well,
also
are we gonna be
does,
toxicity buddies?
because that also does. There's. I also mentioned since trust earlier that we were kind of discussing. Soul technically completed a bond. So we were kind of. I'm being shaken for my crimes.
I think what Trust is trying to say is stop trying to get powers without costs.
Yep.
No, I was. Okay. I misunderstood.
go,
we had
use the
we had a
washroom
conversation
quickly.
earlier.
You're good.
Sorry,
Yeah,
be
go
right
grab
back.
go grab a bio break. Yeah. Take 5 minutes.
Go
to meet you
piss,
guys.
Queen!
I'll be right back too.
Hell yeah! Everyone grab a piss.
Go Biscuit.
I say like don't be cursed like that, and then I just join right in. I am no better.
You have a slug puppy that went yeah and proceeded to lick Alice.
Yeah. I love how you just kind of noped out of that, by the way. You were just like, I'm good. I'm going to my room. I did not expect that at all, and it fucking made me laugh my ass off.
If you didn't hear, she also said BRB.
No, I was saying that to you.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Yeah. You're welcome to have all the sluppy, all the
Snuppy.
the snuppy, fan fan fiction you want.
What?
That doesn't mean it's gonna be fucking sus. It just means it's fan fiction.
Oh, so basically I can't.
I'm not saying you're gonna
canonically
fuck a
have
snail.
Snuppy. No, that's not what I was picking up. I was just like, you're talking
Okay.
about fanfic. You're talking about like fan fiction. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm like,
I'm sorry,
why do I have to
canon
make it fan
fiction.
fiction?
That's right. It is
Okay, there you
canon
go.
fiction. That's right. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. That was
that's-
my fault.
that's-
I'm sorry.
Also, I'm doing this just to fuck with
Huh? Oh, God damn it.
I fucking love you. I love you so much.
You see Luna reappear suddenly in a flash of light. They're like duplicating and like shaking violently, trying to control her magic as they switch colors.
looks like
Yeah.
paintball.
Help me, Kane.
It two look like fireflies did cocaine.
I don't know how to stop this.
Okay.
Help me! How do I stop this?
Yoink. I would light lasso, but I got cast for that. Hey, remember that thing you're talking about? Working through all the, the research of power? Yeah, this will help you vent it out. Just go brain rot for a little bit. You must learn the art of the disassociation.
Oh God!
Yeah! This is what it's all about, baby.
I feel like we should be putting on a concert right now and using Luna as the disco ball.
I'm back.
Back
Welcome to the rave.
Came back to a very interesting intermission.
I didn't even get a chance to run because I was fucking doing antics. I will be back.
Go Biscuit.
Grace, you need anything from the kitchen, hon?
Maybe
Water?
Water would be great.
I will grab you a water.
Luna just like as the weird strange music that came from the heavens stops, she flops on the ground.
Welcome back. At least
Okay.
it seems we might have found one of your spell sources. Music. Congratulations. You're not too far off me.
I
And
don't-
me.
I don't know. I think all the systems interact with each other a little bit, and I think I might have surged them all at once. Never do that again. Noted.
Welcome to part 1 of being a wizard. Utter amounts of bullshit.
Yo.
It would seem so. Okay. Well. I'm sure this will have no lasting consequences upon my general form and being.
I mean, you chose to become a wizard. You're probably gonna get morphed into something horrific like the rest of us eventually.
Oh yeah, I'm fucked. But I can finally help eventually when I learn what I'm doing. I've noticed something strange. Solstice, you look like the other people here in the party, but you're orange. Like,
What?
you're magic.
What do you mean?
Your magic's a little more orange than everybody else's. Fire Fist is really white.
Well, yeah, my magic always been like an orange and a blue. It's always kind of been 2 colors.
Hera's is a little bit red. Orion is painful to look at. I don't know what's going on there. And Alice is wibbly.
Whibley?
She's wibbly.
Checks out.
I'm.
out.
What does that even mean?
I
Where
don't
does
know.
it check out?
I can't show you
Weeble
your
with it, wobble
soul.
with it. Weeble
I-
with it, wobble with it.
Your just magic is weird. It looks like you don't have anything inside you, but at the same time you have some weird something. I
Who's
don't
color
know.
soulless?
Sometimes I have something inside. I mean,
Oh my star!
I hear it through the walls. We know they're not that thick. If I had a spell token for every time that I had get woken up by Terra going through the vents, or Ryan trying to stab something in the middle of the night, Souls having a panic attack, or
Hey.
you guys in your room, I'd have more tokens than God would need to rule this fucking country.
Okay, hang on. I haven't had a panic attack in a while, okay?
You just did.
No, I was being
Uh,
shaken.
We had to enter your mind like 3 days ago.
That was only 2 days ago.
Something like that, yeah. Well, it hasn't been that long in game time.
He's just like
No, no,
Luna's
no,
like
this is-
hair
this
is like
is-
standing up, and her like pupils are tightened, and she's like, "Okay, sorry." Oh,
No, that wasn't me. Like I know it was only 3 days. That was solely like it's only been 3 days.
bubbles and flowers. It's okay.
Luna, I need you to do something for me.
Yeah.
I need you to say bubbles in your angriest voice.
Bubbles.
Bubbles! That's right. Feel a little better?
Can you make something magical happen from that, Trust?
Um. Uh. I don't know what'll happen if I try to cast while speaking the word bubbles. I can try.
I was kidding.
You little shitterith.
I don't know how this works. You guys have like simple magic, and I don't know what I'm doing.
That's all right. I still don't really know what I'm doing.
You don't know what you're doing?
No, I'm dealing with I have another voice in my head. He's a little louder than he was before, but you think I know what I'm doing? I'm afraid to use the magic he's giving me because I just don't know what he's gonna do. It just pauses saying "loser." Thank you. Appreciate that.
We can go over the basics of this world's magic system with you when we've got downtime at the ship, Luna. Can't make much promises for the other magic systems though.
Right. Yes. Sorry.
The rest of us have actual training at least.
I would hope so.
Okay. So we can get back to the ship. I assume we'll just retcon the wings thing. Ignore that.
No, you're fine to have it as a thing that happened, like as like a response to you hanging from the ceiling like a fucking murder drone. That's okay. I don't mind that happening as an off
Okay.
thing, but like
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Since now that I realized I misunderstood that, I will remember that for the future.
yeah,
Okay.
that was a
so I'm gonna
teaser for things to come. Think about that.
Yes.
way.
Ooh.
Using the toolkit that I definitely always kept in my back pocket for emergency situations.
Yes.
I'm going to install this core in the teleporter.
Oops, that was the wrong one. Almost burned a bond on your thing. Yeah. As you click that cell in, and you hear a deep hum below your feet as all of the cells begin like oscillating in a in like a kind of like on and off, lit and unlit power.
Cool. Seems to work, guys.
Neat.
Now, Reef, and I can't use those to get back down. Can you bring me down, but not rotate me, please?
Fine.
Thank you.
Wreath floats him back down.
Thank you.
Did
Okay.
we find anybody to guard the place?
Oh, I
Shall we?
apologize. I
Oh, sorry.
I was rapidly moving and I didn't know how to stop, so I couldn't ask for anybody at the moment when that happened. We can always ask one of the kobolds. I'm sure word travels fast around them. The problem's going to be more making sure that too many of them don't appear.
Are there any kobolds in sight?
You see a random little kobold just like kind of walking around with a little ice cream cone in his hand. He's just chilling.
Hey, kobold friend.
Yeah.
We need some guards to make sure the teleporter is safe.
Oh, sure. Who?
Firefist, the new
Oh,
king.
Firefist! And like he drops his his little ice cream cone and salutes immediately. And before you have a chance to say another word, he is gone. He just bolted you. He jumped over the railing and just vaulted across the gap and has started running on all fours back to the kobold territory.
I love them. Firefist picked a good faction to work with.
I
And
love
freaking
making
picked
them as
him.
goblin as possible.
They're like darling goblins, though. I'm so here for the way they are.
Okay, so I believe we can go back to the we can go back to the ship now. I believe that's most everything, yes?
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, I do worry what will happen to Firefist if we're near the portal when the kobolds arrive.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll probably toss him in the air a bit, but, you know.
I'm sure it's fine. Also, yes, the teleporter, as far as you're aware, is active in this location. For now, at least.
Well, that means we can use it, technically. But I guess Firefist and probably Luna will need to go to the thing. I don't know if Firefist is back yet, by the way.
He is not, but he will be back shortly.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I did not know
There
he
he
did
is.
that.
He can still hear.
Oh, okay. I got you.
He's delivered me popcorn.
Nice.
It's warm and fresh.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
He's such a love, I swear.
See,
Yeah,
gotta
but
find
he
my.
I'm pretty sure he was able to hear the whole time.
Okay.
So
Sweet.
Yes, I was.
yay, I was right.
Sad she forgot my water.
I did it. Here. I help.
Also, Tara, would you do
I-
me a favor?
What can I do for you?
Could you please roll me a d20?
No. I'm just kidding.
Fuck you.
Alright.
I love rolling dice. Rolling dice is my favorite.
Hey, since you want to say 3.
Would you please roll me
I
that
have-
one more time?
You got it. $17.
Oh.
I'm not gonna panic until I'm told to panic.
Oh, the magic number's at 4 now.
I just noticed that too. I'm like, what the fuck did we do now?
Yeah, so I'm
The
gonna choose
paranoia
panic
is
now.
maddening.
Vasha wants you to start a tavern brawl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't worried. I was like, pet needs snacks.
She looks like she hangs her head down off of yours, like looks you in the eye, and you just hear in your head, fighting. I need fighting. A brawl. The tournament left me wanting. A brawl is what I need. Enrichment.
What's she asking for?
Just a little bar fight.
Oh,
My
Bring
baby
Jimmy
needs her entertainment.
bring Jimmy with you if you do.
Hell yeah. He cracks his knuckle.
Tara does not know how to feel about Jimmy.
Oh, come on.
You
It's
put the
only
worst
been a
possible
little.
two together.
It's fine. It's fine.
I-
Listen, I've never killed anybody accidentally. It's only been intentional.
Okay, that's not helping, dude.
I'm a mercenary. It's my job.
Right, okay.
It kind
so
of
I
is.
think-
That's actually commendable.
okay, that's fair, but also
He points
Kind
at
of
the
bullshit.
sword. He's like, hmm.
yeah, okay, never mind. It's gonna unlock the ship so we can go inside.
Out of character.
Yeah.
Out of character. Tara is very leery of Jimmy because while she is not a dragon, she just found out
She's dragging to
she's a
Jason.
teensy.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a teensy little bit of a little bit of dragon in me, and I am afeared.
That.
Professor Everyone, you've had more than a little bit in you. Hey,
Oh my god.
I'm going to chuck you into a dumpster, and then probably do things to you in it.
Can I watch?
Oh my god. If you like being in the cuck chair, you should try being in someone's head while they walk around. It's basically just cucking 24/7.
Can you let me try?
Yeah, but we know that Orion had no riz, so
It's true. The kids cooked.
Oh. Are you cooked or are you cucked?
Oh my god.
You guys
Are
can
you
have
cooking
dinner
or are you
outside.
cucked?
y'all know we have a perfectly good dining room, right? You guys don't need to keep standing outside the ship.
Oh, well,
Oh,
I mean, I stand out here just to be polite when I smoke.
Thank you.
I
appreciate
ended
that.
up I'm chilling with the newly found royalty.
where's the beer?
Over here.
Fireface.
In
just-
the fridge.
Gotta
Oh.
razz you a little.
Ah, yes. Thank you.
So
it'll
no
do.
offense. No offense, Jimmy, but how long till we get Ryan back?
Oh, I don't know. Kid looked like they hadn't slept in 30 years, so probably a while.
Ah,
To be fair, if
Okay.
you just saw your friend die, you'd probably sleep for a while, wouldn't you? Oh, you know
Yeah.
what? This really does build on me after a while. Oh yeah, I can get used to this.
yeah.
I'm sure she's fine. Plus, to be honest with you, I don't really know what's gonna happen when she wakes up, so it might be better that she's out of your hair for now.
See, but everyone's always so rude about her. But honestly, I like her. Dude, I don't know why everyone's so mean about Ryan.
Probably because she keeps tempting fate and joking about ending the world while we're
Okay.
desperately trying to get it to not end.
Yeah. That's
The actual
fair.
her inside the heads is actually pretty nice.
Should he yell from outside the ship? No, Reed's got a point.
In the distant horizon, you just see like a fucking like a conga line of kobolds heading to the center of the fucking endless city.
They're making a parade.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey.
You just hear like in the distance, got to defend the center. Make sure Firefist is proud. Nobody will get to move. It will be martial law. We will make sure the portal's safe.
No.
Fucking hell.
Oh, I love those little guys. They're so dependable.
They're very good at whatever you tell them to do.
They're very good at many things, except for some of the more finesse things. But if you need something brute force, God, they're really effective.
Which you say that like fucking Kiwi just like slides off the roof of the Martyr Starlight and just flops on the ground.
Kiwi!
Ah,
You all right there?
yeah, I tried to take a nap up top. It didn't work so well.
I can see why that might not work quite that well.
What happened to her?
Luna, or who you point out?
he points like very, very like he just like points repeatedly to Luna and it's like Dragon Lady.
It's okay. It's taking it. I mean, she's just kind of one of us, right?
Okay.
Well, that was easy.
The voice inside my head says this isn't good.
What's not good?
Voice inside your head.
Yeah. The guy who
Reese
lets
Prince.
me cast the magic. He's the one who gave me the riddle.
Is this a kobold thing?
Yep.
This is from when he was activated.
Yep.
Yeah, I know that, but I mean, it's a bit weird to have a voice inside your head.
It's a thing where the kobolds get missions from or riddles from these quote unquote ancient ones, where basically something, they don't know what it is or where they come from, but some voice appears in the head of select kobolds, and when they do their missive, they get the power to become a wizard, and that's how their stuff works.
Fair enough.
Oh, that's fucking cool.
Well, we're figuring out what it means to.
I've gotten a message. One second.
Take care what you need to.
I'm drawing a slingshot.
Oh,
He's really
no.
nice. He gives me compliments all the time. He tells me how to cast my magic, and he even gives me advice. Like, everyone said I was crazy for trying to eat the crystal, but he told me it was a good idea.
Firefish just looking at Kiwi bewildered right now. I'm gonna ask you more about that later. That's an interesting one.
What was the oh no you guys were talking about? Or was that a DM thing?
Wait, what?
Oh, when I exclaimed a second ago?
Yeah.
Oh, it was just because I heard both trust and rage laugh at the same time, which means that they're plotting something in the background.
Oh yeah. All right.
Anyway, and no worries about that for now. As long as you're safe and things are copacetic, then, carry on.
I'm good. He's been by my side the whole time. I want food. You have food. You have food.
We did.
Oh, if
yeah.
you have something, but
You can have some food.
Yep.
kiwi.
I guess I'm rolling for pancakes today because our normal chefs are a bit dragony.
Here, stand up. Stand up.
No, wrong, bad.
I fail at pancakes. I got 12.
Can I assist with pancake?
Sure.
Sure, you have advantage
All right.
wreath roll, or yeah, here you go. That's a passable. That's an okay pancake right there.
Sure.
There you go. Just do a little correction on it. Had a little bit too much baking soda.
Yeah, we got the dreaded. Oh my god, you lie! You soak the pancakes in lye.
No, baking soda is what I said.
My mom failed at pancakes the other day, and we only just realized that her baking soda had expired in 2017.
Oh,
Oh no.
That's like I recently I had a conversation with my mom at one point, right? Because we found that we had some salt that had expired like several years ago, and we both looked at each other, and I was like, I mean, it's a rock. How does it?
Yeah, I don't know that salt actually expires,
Yeah,
but
like-
baking soda apparently can. I don't know. It's as dramatic as it is, but the pancakes did not pancake. They stayed flat, Mom.
oh, banana pancakes are really good.
You could say they didn't pan out.
Ah!
I've been a terrible influence on you.
Ah!
And I just feel like going to go take a sip of the syrup I have in the fridge.
Somebody
Anyway.
see, there's a bargain. Somebody give Kiwi coffee just to see what happens, or espresso. You get 3 years of your life if you do that. I'll fuck it. Yeah, I'll accept that. Anyone want to give Kiwi a coffee?
I would, but I don't need 3 years. I'd be a baby. Trade you for 3 insight.
There's a counter bargain going on. Ooh.
I'll take it.
I give Kiwi some coffee.
Go ahead and
This is
update
a good
your
day.
insight in game.
Do I need to Twitch command that?
I did for you. It's this one right here.
I find that hilarious if you get your years lower and you just like suddenly Nox becomes one of the lollipop guild.
So Kiwi, like when they sip the coffee, you see like their pupils go very, very wide, and they open their mouth. You just see like a light begin forming, like a purple light begin forming in the back of their throat.
Oh,
It is very
I
bright.
don't-
could do that.
Fuck did we just give Kiwi?
What are you saying?
Alice
I
says
don't
the
know.
disturbance in
I
the
don't-
force and peeks out of her door. First time, huh? And then she goes back in.
I don't know, but get him out. Get him out. Get him out. I don't want him ripping a hole in my house. Please get him out of the ship. And he like scoops him up and starts carrying him outside.
It's like a freaking dog that's about to
It's
eat
not
dogs,
like
and just like taking them outside very
It is-
quickly.
It is mere seconds after you get him outside that a large purple beam erupts from Kiwi and launches into the
Yes!
sky. You see her.
Does it blow the moon in half?
Yeah.
Fucking. Oh no.
Ah!
Well, that's useful.
I don't like what that drink was.
All right.
You just turn him into a weapon, dude.
Oh, my throat hurt.
Are you okay,
Oh,
buddy?
baby, we're gonna get you here. Come here. I have apple juice. We'll get something
Apple
like soft you
juice!
can drink.
Yeah. You see, like, he like
Oh.
kicks you in the shins, Solstice, and like backflips over and jumps into Tara's arms.
I didn't. Ah,
Tara looks up at Solstice, beaming, holding the kobold in her arms.
See, now that's a
Before
solid question, Chalkin.
Before I do something I'm going to regret, I'm going to go be somewhere else in the ship right now. And he fucks off.
You know, I swear to God, you give these little guys some apple juice and grilled cheese, and they're the best day of their life.
It's just like the little fawn that gets given a sweet roll.
It's me looking at the kobold, us having some juice boxes happily, and just. It's me for real, for real.
Luck on controlling that power, Luna. To
Oh.
not melt the floor.
Thank you. Right. She's like very softly stepping. It's like step, 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 step.
She stepped.
She's done.
And she stepped.
Yeah.
One
she's-
minute. Reef comes back with a spell book that he's definitely always had of like basic magic for beginners.
Oh.
It's even entitled Magic for Dummies.
Thank you.
Quick.
She like flips open the first page and it's like, okay, light, and the flashbang erupts in the kitchen. Okay, a bit too effective.
What the fuck is going on? And oh,
Sorry.
it's fine.
I have learned that getting a lot of power is a bit problematic when you want to use it.
Yeah, that's you're.
She like grabs a fork and it just starts twisting. You're like, oh no, okay. She like tries to straighten it out and she just like pulls it like into a longer fork. She's like, oh dear.
No, just put it down, but really gently, and please don't.
She like holds her temples and the pancake just starts floating in front of her.
My fucking pancake.
That works too, I guess.
Oh wait! I have a short for this one, Simon.
Yeah. It's like, like putting the pancake into her mouth. No, Vivi!
Vivi? I think
Vivi?
his internet just exploded.
I think the
She's-
internet
it's
just
a-
died. It's okay.
Yeah, it's a Steam error. No, Vivi. Our Vivi became Vivint.
Here's the meme.
Oh, yes. I see that.
I don't think I want to have Luna use anything explosive, right?
Should blow up my house. I live there.
Been trying to get her to blow up your bed for this entire game.
Hey, yo.
Why would I explode someone's bed exactly? That's where they sleep.
But yeah, I don't quite get that one either. Why would she blow up the bed?
It's a sex joke.
So say it's just another way of saying fucking.
Mm.
Oh. I see.
I love how Vivi disconnected at the exact time.
No offense, but no thank you. Sorry.
I haven't been pursuing that in a while. Actually, I don't know what he's on about.
To be fair, that was meant to be out of character.
Yeah, okay. I just want.
Oh, Soul hasn't been like actively or even attempting. At least I haven't been trying to make it seem like he has been for a while.
He's just
Just out of
just
the-
shoveling pancakes into his mouth and sipping on beer, just like watching this like it's like a fucking sitcom.
Okay, is this your turn? I need a few minutes. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
I'd like to be surprised in the chat.
God damn it.
For those of you who can't see, it's the Megamind no bitches meme.
I am going to get some sprinkles for my
She's back.
Vivi!
Vivi! Hi! Welcome back.
Hey,
Are you okay?
Hi.
I am getting very fed up with my ISP.
Understandable.
Girl,
Mhm.
I feel that.
Throw frozen peas at them. Throw kiwi at them. I'm sure that'll be interesting.
Believe me, if I could find the person who runs the internet division in my area, I would shove a rabid Tasmanian devil into their pants.
Maybe they're into it.
I hope not. That's very illegal, I'm sure.
They're an IT person. They're definitely into some stuff.
Getting contract rabies. Ooh.
And you can check it,
Little
baby.
Little babies from Daddy Wage.
Oh god.
Jesus Christ. But yes, as we are having shenanigans, finally off in the
Probably wait for it.
in the
I should
distance.
probably wait for Anon.
Yeah. It basically just, you see something approaching Fire Fist in the distance.
Oh boy. Now what?
Just grab them later. Yes.
What about babies?
It's fine. Firefist was just sharing his theory on how to use magic to impregnate a femboy.
Mm.
You
This
bitch,
is-
that went up my nose.
That's not
Oh,
how you impregnate
yeah.
a boy.
Yeah, baby. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
baby.
I-
2 for
pause.
1.
Back the fuck up. Pause. I
3
just sit
for
down.
1, baby.
I just
Let's
sit down.
go.
I just put my headphones on and I hear that's not how you impregnate a femboy. I'm fucking sorry.
I got triple kill. Yeah.
What we meant to say is
Triple kill.
what we meant to say is congratulations on your new child, Unknown.
Oh my god.
What?
No.
Jesus.
I
Oh,
said
baby, a trip.
So I said, sorry, Vivi, by the way, for making you inhale Coke, and sorry, Viv, for making you choke on popcorn, but that was the funniest thing in the world. As we were waiting for you to come back, Solstice, I said Firefist was talking about rabies, and then someone thought, Vass was like, it sounded like you said babies. And I said, Firefist is just talking about how to use his theory on how to use magic to impregnate a femboy.
then
Oh my
Memphis
God.
choked on her popcorn. Vivi accidentally choked on her drink, which went up her nose. And said, "You bitch, that went up my nose." I said, "That's not how you impregnate a femboy."
I had to try, okay?
We
Science.
have to try everything. But Firefist in the
This
distance.
is not what Zootopia had in mind.
Oh my god. In the distance, you see a very crotchety old woman with a big stick slowly like walking stammering through the through the sands towards you.
She looks the part.
So I'm going to guess that's the oracle.
You can tell
Yeah.
she is bitching the whole way. You just slowly hear her getting close, like, I fucking sand with the sand. Always in the sand. The sticks don't work. This I can walk in the sand every time. They always have to live in the sand. They can't live in somewhere normal for once. On the street or something. Why can't wizards ever be so? Are you the... Hi! You must be
Oh,
the
we have
one
a
I'm looking
car.
for.
Wait, what? They had two people talking.
Are you ready for your trials?
Oh, that. I suppose.
Alright. We need... You can take as many people as you want to the trials, but only you get to go into the cloister at the end. That's where you'll get your powers if you make it that far.
Okay. Well, I'll leave it up to you lot if you want to go with or you want to stay.
Yeah, this is all be interesting.
Oh, I've got
you
this.
You do me a solid, I do you one. Do a bar fight with me later.
Oh, wait, Sarah, if you want to stab me, now would be the time.
Oh,
What?
yeah. Tara, don't worry, Solstice.
Yeah, this old lady
no
just
making
sees you
funky
like...
clones or anything.
Go ahead, sorry?
Just telling Tara, no making funky clones or anything.
So, Tara just slow walks up to you, and how do you take Firefist blood in front of this old woman?
Oh, easy. I have a phlebotomy kit that I always have on hand. I had that. I've used this field kit before.
Oh.
Wait, hang on. I'm sorry. Can we actually make a Fire Fist army? Can we make an army? Wait, hang on. How many Fire
And
Fists
people
can we
call me the
hypothetically
mad
clone to the blood?
scientist.
Well, because
The
I
bussy?
wasn't thinking about it until we. I wasn't thinking about it until Fire Fist said it. Fire Fist, this is your fault. How many Fire Fists can we realistically clone? Could we make an army?
The
Could we-
fire fists on
I-
the streets actually are free.
Hey,
This
bud.
is why.
It all comes back to that.
Look,
This
there
is
ain't
why I
no
don't let
thing
you have
like
the
me
snake
said,
staff.
Nox and Rage at the same time.
Yeah.
Rage, what were you saying?
I said, look, there ain't no thing like me set me, so no cloning me, damn it.
Fair.
Well, yeah, but
No, I
they
didn't promise I wasn't
wouldn't
gonna do
you.
anything. I didn't promise I wouldn't do anything weird with it. So I made my promise. Nox.
Well, no, she promised.
Oh, I
did.
said this. I said this is why I don't let you guys handle the freaking snake staff.
Oh, that's fair.
Clones are not typically recommended. They always go bad.
We can figure that part out later. Just imagine multiple Fire Fists for many problems.
Bitch, I can hardly
Yeah,
stand
but-
one of you. I don't want you cloning yourself.
Why
I
not?
was
It'd be
gonna
fun.
say, I was gonna say that's what
'Cause
matters
Orion-
if you got empty offices that I can't fill them all in one time.
Because Ryan, or you know how many freaking existential crises you've had over being an experiment?
Well, no, I'm not saying clone me. I'm saying clone him.
That's what I'm saying. If you have clones, they are gonna have that, but worse.
Oh, well, yeah, but we.
You can
Sounds
hear
like
like the old lady just like she just like whaps Tara with a stick and is like, enough blood! You're done! We're going!
No, I already took my sample. I already took
She
my
Yeah,
sample.
bonks you again is like, enough! We're going to the
Hey,
trial.
Hey,
Bunk.
I got
bunk,
3 samples.
bunk,
I did
bunk, bunk,
She
bunk.
passes a
Silence!
fucking throws
Bad
a
lizard!
cookie.
Bad!
Fire fist.
Get
Take that
down!
so you don't get
Bad
low
lizard!
blood sugar.
Bad! We're going to the trial.
Stop
Now.
goddamn treating me like I'm a damn dog.
You're mean.
She points the staff toward Firefist like trials.
I'm walking. Would you prefer to take a vehicle? Because we have those. I heard you complaining. about
Vehicles
subway.
too long, unreliable, break down, walking fast. Yeah, I don't like your generation of wizards always teleporting everywhere, flying everywhere with your spells. Back in my day, we had to walk everywhere. Do you even know what a hiking trail is? The last time you hiked, you probably threw up from walking too far. I don't think you even know how to walk. Shit, you're not even dressed for a hike. I don't even know if you know about nutrition. You don't know. Have you ever peaked in your life? You don't look like you have. I've been.
Jesus fuck! How many late night infomercials have you watched?
I have watched all of them.
Does anyone else want to go with them? Because if so, I'll get the car.
I'm going.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm gonna get
yeah,
the car
I'm
and bring it
You'd be
around.
rolling at half the speed of smell behind us.
Jimmy's just gonna follow. He's having a great grand old time listening to Firefist get bitched at by an old woman that he has to follow. You're missing the prime time entertainment over here.
14 life alerts are in like a collection. Shocking, please.
Looks like the fucking Cupid from Death Stranding. It's just all life alert button.
Yeah, like the way she looks is she looks like she's fucking like 300 years old. She looks like she hasn't died in ages.
She looks pissed about it, apparently.
She looks like she's been dried like a fucking mandrake over the course of her life and is not pleased to still be alive.
That's you're giving me flashbacks to my grandmother.
This right here just said it.
Sweet, sweet chocolate.
I hate it.
Is that a bad thing, Nox?
I
Checking in.
hate.
No, I mean it's fine.
Okay.
But yeah, my grandmother's last year of her life was spent complaining to us at every opportunity that she was denied medically assisted death.
Oh my god.
Which is very weird for an extreme Catholic.
I'm
She was not a happy woman at that
Dude, that opens up the most fire comebacks on this plane. It's to be like, oh my god.
Every time you pissed her off, she's like, "You're the reason I'm pissed off. I didn't get that medical
Yeah!
assistance unalive it."
Oh my god.
Goodness.
Thankfully, she didn't have the presence of mind for that, but yeah.
Oh my god. Holy shit.
Oh, Bean.
God, that's so fucking dark.
It's okay. She wanted to die for like 20 years, so she just was very much clearer about it at the end.
Oh, I feel bad now.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Nah. Yeah. That
It's
is
fine.
that's very common. The older folks get really comfortable talking about it. Everyone else doesn't. That's just the way it is.
My grandmother would like one time when
Sorry, can we please change the subject?
yeah, we're good. Got it. Anyway, old
you.
lady yelling at Firefist very aggressively as we walk slowly, one step at a time. We go, past the place where you're on the Cobalt area, slowly moving, very slowly. You can swear the sun's gonna fucking come up by the time you move anywhere. You ride the elevator up, And then you begin moving, but past the Templar area, through a little bit of that, as you make your way very slowly all the way to the stairs of the palace, where step by step you follow this lady going up. And as you finally get to the top of the stairs, as you finally get all the way up here, you can swear it's been like an hour and a half or something. You kind of lost track of time at some point. You get to the doors to the top room of the palace, where their throne lies. Like, all right, we're finally here. It's time you find out about one of the passageways. Oh, and I should let you know, this is the last time you can bow out until it's done. So if you got anything else you need to do, I suggest getting it done now.
I'll just turn and look at everybody. Just like, I don't think we have anything else that's pressing, right?
Nothing I can think of.
Not compared to
As long
this.
as I get my fight.
You can have a bar fight
Also-
anywhere.
I posted a whip, and that actually includes the palace, so we can have a reference.
Oh shit.
Oh, it's so fucking cool!
Very
That was
nice.
awesome.
Thank you. Wanted to try my hand at some cartography.
Well, just in case I fuck this up royally, no pun intended. And I'm not
Eh.
the same person I am when I go in. It's been nice knowing you all.
Don't talk like that. This
I mean,
no.
I'll be blunt with you. I've had so many warnings about the trials about how it can fuck with people majorly, so I'll try to take
Yeah,
some
but-
precautions ahead of time. Believe me, I feel like I'm more prepared than most, but
built
you know,
different.
always better be safe.
So this
You're
is
built different.
not the map for this, but I actually didn't have time to prepare a map for this. So we're just gonna reuse this map from a while back.
I'm good with that.
No, hey, it's the
It's
fake
entirely service. Yeah, the what?
it's the fake castle or wherever we stopped out in the wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
With
she.
staff.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was seeing where we got the staff.
Yeah. She.
Yeah, it's
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She takes her big like walking stick and hits the shit out of the throne, and it's like, move it.
Like sit in the throne and move the throne.
Just throw the throne to the side.
Oh, okay. I will move the throne.
You see, there's a large staircase underneath the throne that seems to go out the back of the palace.
Huh. That's nifty. Yeah, I suppose down and go.
Yeah, seems there's no other choice. You know, the good news about having a grouchy old fool talk you through this is that, you know, she's not gonna lie to you.
That's true. All right, well, down we go. He's gonna go down the staircase.
Before you do,
Hmm.
Tara would like to give you a quick hug.
Oh,
You just look back, and she hands out.
give.
Yeah.
Okay, he'll do that. He will go pick up Tara.
Yay. You did great. And I'm wishing you luck on this. Be with you until we can't be.
Fair enough. If it makes you feel any better, I'm not really afraid, so.
And you've already been through hell and stuck to your guns. So I got no doubt you'll be just the same, if not even better, when you get out.
For some
And
reason,
if-
if I'm not, I know you all can handle it.
Yeah, if you're not, we'll kill you.
Believe it or
Right.
not, that's comfortable. I take comfort in that.
I figure that's what you would want.
I mean, if you can, but yeah.
You can hear, like, far down the staircase, the You can hear the echoing bitching where she's like, "We're not at the trials yet. You can still come."
Yeah.
Oh, all right, now I guess everybody piled downstairs.
And yeah, as we go down this like spiraling kind of staircase out the back like mountain that the or like plateau that the palace is on, we eventually you notice, by the way, that magic starts acting very, very weird. And you also notice
Again?
that. Go ahead, sorry.
I said again.
Yes. You also notice that you recall to it. You didn't remember seeing anything out on the back of the plateau, but you are definitely outside. You're definitely going down a staircase, and there is definitely a large mansion in front of you.
So is Wreath's magic getting fucked with, or like his binds, and is Orion actually able to follow?
Orion is able to follow just fine. Um, there seems to be the only person's magic who seems to be immediately affected is Luna, who you see part of her form just kind of like fade away into normalcy. Like, oh, well, that's something.
Huh.
Huh. I
Are we
guess.
distant? Are we distant from the ley line here?
Other way around. We're going in.
Oh, right. That would make sense.
The trial's submerged in a back pocket area of sorts, just to make sure that only those who are willing to risk everything come down here. If you're foolish enough to get down here, you'll find yourself lost, and you'll starve to death. And if you are brave enough to come down here, you'll find that maybe, just maybe, you'll make it out alive.
So usual wizard stuff.
Yep, I'm just about. Rosalind was great like that. Of course, you wouldn't know anything about her. And she bonks the door, and the large doors kind of like creak in an echoing screech open.
What
You
was the
see,
name she said? I'm sorry.
she said
Rosalind.
Rosalind.
Wait, was that Rez's real name?
Of that
Probably.
that lady?
Go ahead.
No, she was the one who built this mansion.
No, gotcha. One of the original ones. He's smaller than like.
Well, that's proper queen. Anyway, onward. You'll do, maybe. As you turn, you see that there is a large, it out on the inside, it looks like a large temple. There are strange glowing receptacles everywhere. There are strange orbs, some of the receptacles, and there is a very, very, very large staircase in the center that is split into a bunch of pieces. There's a giant fucking door at the top of them, and there are pathways that run all over the walls. Which I did not get the chance to actually build this, so I will have to do that next time on the Wigglers and the
Looks like quite a labyrinth.
Yeah, it seems like this is going to be a pain in the ass. I hate puzzles.
Yeah, it just seemed like it.
They always get
I
in the
mean-
way. Go ahead.
I was gonna say. I mean, you got us here. We'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure it's alright. Worst case scenario, I can always See if I can wake the brat up. That'll be alright. She'll be a bit angry, but if she needs to do anything or wants to kill anybody, she'll have to get out of here first, so she'll be compliant.
Fair.
Oh yeah, that bar fight. And and Jimmy just like takes a can of beer from like out of his back pocket that he's definitely had the entire time, and just like hucks it directly at Solstice and dings him in the head.
Oh. Yeah, right. And so it's fucking just rains back and just fucking clocks him across the face.
Yeah. And he like haymaker Solstice back in the chest. You just hear like a stum as the fist like stops on his chest. Let's fucking go!
It's five just turning back. Sometimes look at the crotchety old oracle. Is this a side effect of the fucking temple? Or they just acted? Well, I don't even know what I'm asking. It's probably just them.
Well, the temple can fuck with your mind, but I don't believe that this is part of that, no. Well, if you want to kill yourselves
no,
here,
it's
that's
just
none of my
general
business.
sentiment.
I'm going to sleep. And she just like finds a corner and just lays down. Wake me up when you're done.
How the fuck am I supposed to know what I'm telling?
You'll know when you're done. If you don't know you're done, don't wake me up.
Jeez.
So
Alrighty.
So there are a number of ways we go about this. I do actually have a proper idea for a puzzle that I can build over the course of like the next week, or we can definitely do a fucking like some other type of skill based thing, or we can just do a fucking roll if you want to do that. It is kind of up to you guys how you want to proceed from here. I'm fine to dick around for a little bit while in here, but I actually didn't expect us to get this far this quickly.
Let's make it simple, I suppose.
Yeah.
Firefist is gonna activate his new ability. Take a look around.
Yeah, sure. I can just mumble fuck through it. It's all good. You see a
go.
variety of orbs are stuck in some other receptacles. If you recognize what game this is from, you know me, and I'm not sorry.
I don't, but it's probably Minecraft.
It's not Minecraft. Minecraft doesn't have orbs.
It could be
No.
Final Fantasy.
Shut up. There are a bunch of orbs in the walls, of various colors. You see that one of them is titled a glyph orb, but one of them is titled a destruction orb, and you see a few other types around. There are a few doors that have
Oh.
receptacles as well that are closed. Go
It's
ahead.
Final Fantasy X for those who are wondering.
Ah!
Oh god.
And there are some pedestals you can move around. Seems like everything. Yes, who was that? Hello?
Hi.
What is it?
It's an orange soda.
Is it
It's an
Whisper of
orange
Orange?
water.
It's a whisper of orange.
Okay, well let
No,
us
it's.
know.
Are you
orange
drinking one of
content.
mine? If that's not, that's not Whisper of Orange. That's a Scream of Orange.
Scream of orange. That is the most barbarian name you could have given it, hun. I swear to fucking god, I love you. Scream of orange. That's what I'm calling it from now on. That's so much more fun than what is it? Mandarin orange flavored sparkling water.
Yeah, in place of one of
It
the
tastes
orbs.
kind of like cream soda.
In place of one of the orbs, you see a fucking LaCroix has been stuffed into one of the sockets. It
God.
seems to work regardless, but you're not sure why.
Got it. So this trial can be completely fucking rigged. Oh, perfect.
So I'm just gonna have you guys roll and kind of just go through how this is for your rolls, because I feel like that's
Question.
gonna be easier than trying to than trying to like come up with something on the spot. That's good with you.
Sure.
Go.
Question:
Yes.
if we don't solve is there going to be a secret extra puzzle that if we don't solve, and there's no indication that we don't solve, that's going to completely fuck us over about getting the secret stuff at the end of the game?
It only happens in one of the
There better not be.
I might have some angry memories about the game that she's referencing.
I don't worry, I'm not gonna hold a celestial weapon from you. Don't worry.
What was
As you
worse,
see-
it was the best. It was the best summon of the game.
Oh yeah. Don't worry about it.
Y'all are adorable.
Yeah, who would like to roll first?
Fucking blessed.
I was gonna say like we're looking for 10 successes. Fuck it.
I can roll.
We're
Sure.
doing a clock. 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
What am I rolling?
You're gonna roll to
D20
see if
for
you can figure out this stupid fucking bullshit.
Sure. Investigation.
Hell, we can
Yeah.
flavor the chamber if we want to.
Yeah.
I got a 2.
Yeah,
I-
sure.
Extreme succeed.
Yeah. So you as you're looking around, you're like, huh, this kind of reminds me of a game I played at some point. You're free to add some flavor on your own, or I can just or I can
Go
bumble
ahead.
fuck.
You can bubble fuck.
Okay, I'm gonna bumblefuck. Yeah, sorry. We entered the super scuff part of Wizards, which is what happens when I choose to sleep for 2 hours instead of doing the last minute prep for 2 hours. Yeah, you're like you take the odd looking LaCroix and you huck it across to the other side of the room, into one of the pedestals, and you see the large like grid like system light up, and some of the stairs sort of shift into place, and some of the other stairs shift a little too far out of range. I'll consider that one of your successes. Sure, we got it. Yeah. There we go. I already had a go in. Sure. Uh, fuck it. I'm gonna say you got 2 successes for that. It was pretty good. Anyone got
Nice. Well done,
anything?
Rith.
You can also use spells to
Yes.
sweeten the deal on this. I'm not gonna take your magic from you. See, if I were a big brain and had made up my fucking mind earlier, I would have been able to do this, and I would have been able to take your magic from you, and then it would have been really cool, and then you would have had like to solve the puzzle with like brains.
If you
I'm picking
prefer,
out a. I'm noodling on a spell.
we can always like warp back to the ship, have some role play, and then come back to this if you prefer. Trust.
Yeah, we can definitely do that if you want.
What do you guys want?
Up to you.
I do apologize. The sessions seem to go twice as fast as I intend them to go.
Mhm.
I totally get that. I would run into the same thing if I was running, like, where it's like, oh, that went a lot faster than I thought it was going to. It's kind of like when you read like the novel versus the webcomic of it, you know?
Oh god, yeah, I blitzed the fucking webcomic recently. It was very sad. Yes.
What's up?
Sorry, I just stepped away for a sec. What did I miss?
We're discussing warping back to the Martyr of Starlight, doing a role play, and giving Trust the time to actually finish this puzzle for next week.
Or we can just say
Oh.
fuck it and just say we did it or something, and then go to the next part of it.
I mean, we can if you want, considering I literally pulled the ability I did just to cheese this. So
Yeah, fuck it. Sure. Yippee. You, through rather it be luck or skill, you make it through. And the old lady was what the hell? Oh my god, it's almost like some stupid bitch didn't design the fucking temple and you got through it really quickly. That was the fastest I've ever seen anybody get through it. She listen, I'll own up to my fucking mistakes. She
You know what? That's humility.
This crunchy old bitch breaking the fourth wall over here.
So here, I won't use the counters because that's probably gonna break shit. And as much as I like the idea of this randomly fucking deciding to die, I'd rather it fucking didn't. Let's do boop and boop. So, Fireface, you are in front of this massive, like, shell-like door that slowly begins to open as we're kind of like, behind you on the stairs, looking inside. From what we can tell, there is essentially just a dark room that has a large light in the background and two, like potions, one on each pedestal. The old woman is very, very, she points her stick at all of you like, if any of you try to walk in, I will hit you off the stairs. One allowed. Only him.
Okay.
See what happens.
Best of luck, Firefist. Holler if you need us to come in here and kill someone.
I'll kill you. And you see like the like clamshell kind of shut behind us as the light grows brighter and the room is kind of just enveloped in this velvet light. It becomes hard to see where the walls are. It's like you've been swallowed up into a like extremely closed off like pocket dimension or something. And you see the two elixirs that Ozzy had warned you about. They look to be about the same. Though, if you perhaps had some way to see through this, but, one,
Just conveniently, I do.
yep. There are two powers.
Go ahead with your explanation.
Yep. There are two powers. One will give you the power of a queen, and the other will give you the power of a monster. Follow your heart, and we'll see where you end up.
Fair enough. All right, let's activate this ability and see what I see on each one.
Sure. Would
Which,
you like
for
to...
those who don't know, the ability I picked up was eyes that can see secret doors.
Nice. That's useful.
Yes. So you see one potion has like it looks like these diamond shapes that are kind of in stasis inside of it. I'm just gonna call this the diamond potion. And then the other one you can see is churning and moving. It's like something is influencing it from a very far distance away, but it does glow rather brightly. Glowy, flowy. You can't quite tell which one's which, but you can tell that they are indeed extremely powerful extracts from extremely powerful creatures. They look to probably just be straight up fucking blood. It's very likely that they are.
Nifty. Do I get the sense of anything else about them besides their general aesthetic?
You can definitely investigate them more if you wish.
I will do so.
Sure. How would you like to do that? Would you like to do that via sorry, your equipment is kind of underneath you there. I don't know why you were sitting on your sword. There you have oodles, canoodles, and toaster strudels of options in front of you to be able to investigate. You can try casting a spell to investigate it. You can try using your powers to investigate it. You can use a token to investigate it. You can use a clock to investigate it. The world is your oyster.
I'm going to do the easiest route first. I would like to see if I can summon a small white flame and hold it near each one to see if they react.
Sure. On the left one, it glows very bright white, and on the right, it crystallizes.
Interesting. Hmm.
Thank you. Yes, Cat Notebooks
All right,
comes
fuck
again.
it.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh my god. Yeah, my
I would like to may I? Or no, he's in this alone. Yeah, that's right.
yeah. We're in a pocket dimension right now.
That's right. My bad.
You know what? I will expend a D's Nuts token for more information on these because I do not know what the fuck to think.
You're good. So you can tell that there is something fucked with the left potion. There's something wrong with it. It is moving. It is unquestionably moving. You can't tell why or from what, but it is definitely moving on its own. The right potion is not, though you can tell it's definitely not the blood of a human.
It's definitely not the blood of a what?
It's definitely not the blood of a human.
Oh.
So she's giving you the option essentially from blood that is actively being controlled by something and blood that is definitely from a monster.
So yeah, monster blood probably turns you into monster.
Who knows?
I'm hopeful I would, but
As in case, unless I'm being sneaky or something.
that's what I'm not sure about. And just to make sure I'm not because I'm obviously looking at the word backwards. Which one's the left and which one's the right? Is the glowy one the lefty or the right?
Yeah, the glowy flowy is the one that's definitely moving on its own, and the diamond one is the one that is definitely from a monster.
Gotcha. Welp. If my ability doesn't tell me anything else, then it seems like the obvious choice would be the one not from a monster.
It's up to you. It is your decision as a queen what you should do. After all, I am your humble servant. As a guide.
Are we allowed to make a comment out of character for Firefist?
Yeah.
Remember that you know that some queens seem to be under the control of something and not themselves.
True.
If at any point you feel like this is way too ambiguous, you would like a hint of something else, you can let me know.
Yeah, go for it, just to be on the safe side, because I'm not 100% sure.
Sure. Have you seen Epic the Musical?
No.
Okay. Think of a for those of you who have, how about that? I'm almost certain almost every other person in here has.
Fuck no.
Okay.
No.
Dash has talked about it.
God damn it!
Lot, but
Okay, fine.
I have. I've been following the project since its inception.
All right, Tara, you're gonna no pressure. You're gonna be helping your wife through this. What was the
okay,
point
cool.
of the song Thunderbringer?
What the fuck? I didn't sign up to be on Jeopardy. I came here to have a good time. No, I'm just kidding. Actually don't know at all on that one. Like I love the project, but I don't have that like the memory of the lyrics like right on hand for all of
can I
them.
phone a friend? Hey, Dash. Dash. The fuck's Thunderbringer? What's the significance?
Thunderbring. Sorry.
Sheila.
Thunderbringers from Epic.
Yeah.
Is it playing?
No, it's regards to this for some reason. I don't know. Trust me, you about it.
Zeus.
Yeah.
It's Zeus's song.
Okay.
The one where he tells Odysseus to choose between himself and his crew.
Did you catch that?
Okay.
Is that correct, Trust? Is that what you're looking for here, or what?
And why did Zeus do that? What was the point?
Why did you do that? What was the point?
Because they killed the sacred cattle.
Oh, okay.
Who did? This is or the crew?
The crew.
Why'd they do that?
Because they were hungry.
So it's for greed.
They got the munchies.
That's
Oh.
a way of saying it, I guess.
I can see that Vath is
Okay.
like going feral because she knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Technically, they were it was desperate.
It was
but
desperation and greed.
I mean,
desperation.
can
greed,
Vath
because
stay?
Odysseus begged them not to because the cow were sun god's friends.
Sorry, Gal was friends with the cow.
Cows, but yes. That's how the actual story goes.
I've never watched
Not-
this shit. I
no,
don't,
you're
I don't
fine.
read the Bible.
It's not. It's Greek mythology.
This is amazing.
Technically, in Greek mythology, the crew just got smited because everyone ate the cow except for
Okay,
Odysseus.
so what I'm understanding here is, Firefist, if you drink one of those potions, we're all gonna be struck by lightning except for you.
I don't think that's the
And
point. I think we're missing something still.
Or
Is
it could be opposite.
is Vath allowed to talk to see what her perspective is?
What's the council say? What do you think? You think we should
Well, yeah, did anything
I mean-
Dash say?
I'd love
you were
an
looking for?
audience interaction on that.
Sure.
Get Vasha in on this.
So Vasha, what was the point of ding ding ding? What was the point of the song Thunderbringer?
Okay.
Just getting multiple perspectives on it. This is fun.
I quite enjoy this. Can you tell what part I put a fucking lot of thought into in the part that I didn't think about until the last single second? That's right.
Wow.
The scene that takes that's the scene of the potions has definitely been in my brain the whole time, and the puzzle was a last minute idea that definitely got implemented. Definitely. You can summarize. It's okay. But yeah, let's see. Let's see. What's the What do you think is the most important lesson for a ruler to learn when they are first getting their throne?
Probably the
Not
one
so
that
too
most
bad
have
of
never
power.
learned, which is power corrupts, but beyond that, it's everything that should be done. It should be done in service to the people.
very close.
Is that a close to gotta take a mulligan on it? Eh?
Uh, okay, so I'll just say the thing. The point of the song, Thunderbringer from Odysseus, is to tell Odysseus that if he wants to get home, he's going to have to learn how to act like a king, and he can no longer act like the friend of his crew anymore. He can't let fate decide what happens. Yeah. He can't let fate decide what happens to him. He has to decide what happens. It's not up to him to
Oh.
sit back anymore and let people tell him what's going to happen. It's up to him to make what he wants to happen.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a guess here in that the white one that has something controlling something as representation of people still seeking to be controlled by something else and not take responsibility, and the other one being more chaotic and open and free is the opposite.
That's certainly one interpretation. I'm not going to like kill you if you make a choice here. I have different paths planned for these. It's just I'm giving you a clue that there is another option, and I'm letting you explore the abstracts to figure out what you would like to do.
About to just grab both and fucking chug them out.
I mean, you can. I don't know what would happen. I didn't plan for that. That's not. You're good, Vath. You're good, Vath. No worries. Yeah, I figured. No worries. I appreciate you.
Yeah, same.
Gotcha. The symbolism doesn't actually tell us shit about the decision at this point, but or the options, more or less. The decision symbol. Yeah, symbolism is definitely there, but
I am very curious what's rolling through your head right now, Rage. I'm not gonna lie.
it's like the fucking meme of the math woman right now, trying to figure out what fuckery is happening.
So I will say
Because-
there. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
The direct choice between two things was not what I was getting at with the mentioning of the song. The message Zeus was sending was the important bit.
I think she's telling you to make your decision and not ask us.
You can
I
ask
mean,
your
if that's
friends.
the symbolism we're going for here, that's where I'm getting lost. Is like, how the fuck does the symbolism actually involve the two options? 'Cause that's maybe I'm overthinking it. And that's not the whole point, but I thought that was the point. Is each option was related to a choice that you're talking about within this music.
They are not directly related. The message of that Zeus was sending to Odysseus by giving him that choice is what I was getting at.
So it's about allowing other people to It's about having the taking your charge on your own decisions, basically.
Yeah.
Which, when there's a potion that's influenced by something, is my concern.
Yeah, that makes sense. That was my initial thought as well, was the fact that something's controlling, and we had that discussion about something being controlled all the way back in the Hearthtown with the queen there.
Mm-hmm.
Who said you have to drink them?
Well, it sure as hell isn't a suppository.
I mean, like, you make your own choice. You can choose to just not drink them. You already have the power, don't you?
I don't actually know. I mean, that's been kind of hinted at, but at the same time, like, I don't know how this pocket dimension works. Fuck it, let's ask the old crotchety bitch. So I have to make a choice here to drink one of these, or we can't leave.
You have to make a choice to do something.
That is not the answer. I'm not, that's not the question I asked, but oh my god.
Oh my god, that would be a ponyboy thing to do. I adore that path.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I'm gonna send you this hit in the funniest way I know how. Give me just one. Give me just
Maybe a
1 second.
screaming cat gif.
Hold on, I gotta find my stash of memes of this regard. Here you go. There you go.
Okay. Okie dokie, that don't tell me shit.
The esoteric method was an attempt.
Here you go. I'll send you what I sent
I was
him.
rooting
Just
for it.
sends me that. Yeah, I was gonna say, you didn't, I was going to. You know what? Yeah, so I will ask the old woman this, like, so if I decide I don't want to choose, I can leave. It just seems irresponsible to take a drink of a potion that you don't know the effects of either one. Real royalty would do reconnaissance.
You can't leave without making a choice.
Even if the choice is not to choose.
Sounds like that to me.
All right, well, going with gut instinct. I'm gonna grab the one that's not got control.
Okay. And you're gonna do what?
Is that the one that the crystal, the power white flame crystal?
Yes.
Oh, that sounds dangerous.
For reference, when I went silent, that is where she did not have a response to your question. Or she chose to not speak. I know it's ambiguous as fuck. I know it sounds like I'm schizophrenic, but there is a point. I promise. There is a lesson. I promise. It might be a little silly. Might be a little dumb. I'm trying. You've gotten very close several times to the yeah.
to the yeah.
Yeah. The only hint I can give you is sending you more bunnies.
Sending me more bunny.
Yeah.
I don't think you understand how vague and useless your hints are.
Would you like to share your hints with the gang? Allow a little council interpretation.
I mean, yeah, why not? I will walk back and see if I can leave because I'm choosing to decide later.
That's the only thing I can think of if she's sending you bunnies is that I had it.
What was your choice?
Do not drink out her potion.
Yeah. I'll put it back on the pedestal and I'm gonna try to leave.
The you hear the old lady start to cackle. As you hear both of the bottles like shatter on the ground as she hits them with her cane. Huh, you might have some brains on you after all. Good. We can't have other kingdoms telling us what is correct, and we can't have other people telling us what to do. It's about time someone realized that.
It seems like an impossible situation to make choices and don't know something. I'm not gonna make choices blindly. That's just stupid.
Exactly.
Wanted to steal a potion.
What the
well.
fuck was in those, by the way? Now I'm curious since the trials concluded, I've seen.
Well, while we're in a place where they can't see, the first queen made sure of that. The potion on the left was the blood from the Glass Palace's queen. She's been very insistent. And the second was the blood of a dragon.
Somehow that very much track.
The lady
Clever.
the lady takes a small vial from she's definitely just always had it. Always had it. It was definitely not in her staff at any moment in time. Don't worry about it. And she hands it to you instead. Here. This is a vial of Rosalind's blood. Drink it, and you will gain her power. You won't be as good as her, but it will give you something.
He's gonna examine it really quickly to make sure she's not bullshitting him.
I could always be trying to poison you. It would be very efficient.
It would be,
What's
but at
this?
the same time, I'd have the temptation to kill you, which at this point, considering how much you were complaining on the way here, might be doing you a favor.
If I could die, I would thank you to do it.
Oh my god, fucking Firefist and this hag is they are the most sassy fuckers with each other, I swear to god.
The mean gaze. All right, using my ability, anything seem off about what she's saying compared to the vial she in?
She seems sincere.
All right. Well, time to find out exactly what the previous queen was all about. And he will drink the vial.
Sure. You see flashes of the beginning of the Endless City when it first broke off from the kingdom that was in power before it was around. You see that it was initially an offshoot of another kingdom. You see that it was actually verdant at one time. It was covered in all sorts of vegetation. It was covered in a remarkable amount of vegetation, actually, orchards as far as I can see. But after the impact of a large object from space, or from the sky at the very least, it no longer could support that type of life. Something had poisoned the land. It was consistent. Nothing they did could solve the problem. No matter how much magic they threw at it, no matter how many resources they threw at it, it would never stop. Every time they would find a new crack that would unveil new toxin that would roll through their land, and there'd be another orchard gone. There'd be another grove that didn't grow back until eventually nothing was left but the swamp. And then, my friend, as you are rolling through these, as you're rolling through these, eventually you realize, as you come out of these visions, that your normal magic is gone, but it is replaced by the three powers you have seen thus far.
Oh,
Can you repeat that? I missed that for a second.
The magic he had is gone, but is replaced by the three powers he's seen thus far.
Which are
Which are da 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 da. The three royal powers we've been using throughout this entire motherfucking game are purity, control, and dominance.
Very cool. And homebrew element, yeah.
Yes.
Or in
Homebrew.
very cool.
Yippee.
definitely have to follow up with you on that one because that's a new one to me.
Yep. We've seen the one that we have, we've identified two of them, so you'll be able to kind of, I just remind you.
if you
It's
want
fine.
to talk about
Go ahead.
it's about dominance, Soul has taken and disputed dominance before.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's where I'm like, oh yeah, no, we'll get a chance to review that. I know that we have a sheet for that.
Mhm.
Nice.
And we've actually we've named your power as well, Tara, if you remember.
Yeah, the purity.
Yep.
We shot Soul with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll can do it again.
Which means by process of elimination, Firefist's power would be control.
Oh, I wasn't thinking writing.
Mm.
Incredible. This entire land used to be so verdant.
Cat
I'm
notebook
gonna have to
giving us
figure
the
out how to
perfect
fix that
soundtrack,
later.
as per usual. Sorry, go ahead.
You're fine. Someone to figure out how to fix that later. This place would be a lot better if it were verdant again. Alright, anything else I should know? Anything else to do?
Well, aside from getting whatever projects need be underway to make sure that you are ready for the royal meeting, no, you're fine. You're an official queen now. Congratulations.
This is called royalty. Don't get me wrong, I swing both ways, but I wouldn't go as far as to call myself queen.
Excuse me, it seems you're the first empowered king of this world.
May I put us put on a song?
Yeah.
One sec.
I will load the window so it actually loads properly as well when we put it on. Nope.
That's blocked.
It fucked. It's probably age restricted. Just find another mirror of it. There you go.
Oh my god.
Sure.
Brilliant.
Yes, new power unlocked. Firefist can sing like Freddie Mercury.
Let's fucking go.
So your spells will still work. They will. The modifying thing still will happen, but essentially, you have unlocked the lovely power, to kind of, use the powers we've seen the queens be using.
It's gonna be fun to use this leverage later against the queens. Well, as needed, but we get the fuck out of this white space. This place is giving me a headache.
Yeah, which you see the like the cloister like fog recede, and the shell like door open up to the party.
Oh, what happened to Firefist's portrait on the interface? I don't like that.
It's fine.
This is not fine.
Like, what happened?
Got a misplaced halo.
And some eyes.
It's fine.
Wait, what? I missed it.
It's fine.
Oh, because my stream locked up. That's why I didn't see it. Oh. Thank you. I see it now.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I see a white circle. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, the little red eyes on it.
Oh,
too.
the eyes. Okay, I see it now.
Yeah.
It just took a minute to update on my side.
I initially was gonna try and have like the circle be behind you, but it didn't work out like that because the limitations of the tech that I have and use. So
You sneaky bean. Normally I help with these sorts of things. That's a surprise to me.
Yippee!
Also,
Yay!
you can absolutely order them. Just ping me about it and I'll help you.
okay. It's because it's all running in the Godot thing. It's linked directly to
Oh,
the
it's not Lumia.
yeah, the Lumia is running the PNG tubers, which are behind the Godot interface. And the Godot is actually running. These change as you go up or down. The eyes are showing most of the way because Firefist has taken a shitload of corruption. And then the white is showing because he has a shitload of insight. And then if Solstice ever took a single point of toxicity while having dominance, we would have seen the fucking cool crown that I made, but never mind.
Hey, hang on. As you discussed earlier, I'm working on something. You'll see it eventually. You fuck. Bite me.
You'll get your crown later.
I will. Bite me. You bite me too. You're judging me over there. Fuck off. Bite me.
But as you step out,
No, I'm busy.
what?
I think he's
Don't
talking.
worry about it.
No talk me, Anky.
So Firefist comes out.
Yes. Firefist. As Firefist walks out, you hear Luna go, "Oh, well, that's new."
Are you still you?
As far as I can tell, I'm still mate.
Tell us something only Firefist would say.
Gotta say a lot of weird shit, don't I?
Nah, I'm sure he's fine.
Are you craving a cigarette?
God, you have no idea.
It's him.
Tara points and laughs. Dude, that's perfect.
How do you feel about royals?
I still can't wait to punch most of them in the teeth.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely
Yeah,
okay,
it's
he's
fine.
fine.
Yeah, we're
I'd
good to
say
go.
most now, considering it's me. I don't really want to punch myself in the face unless I have to, but shit happens.
I mean, if you want to, I
Fine.
think Jimmy will do it.
It's true.
No. No, wait, no, he hasn't been around long enough. Well, I think she one of us. Keep it in house.
I think you're volunteering. Okay, sure.
We're not
Look, all I'm
punching him in the
saying
face
is, royal
yet.
powers aside, one of you attempts to swing at me, I'm going to kick your ass.
Just to mention
Alright, I'm gonna
now,
use-
you're free to try out your flames and do whatever you want. Have a good time. Happy birthday.
Wait, what?
Hmm? Anyway,
Something you said something happy birthday. I don't know what the fuck you said.
She said try out your flames. Happy birthday.
Oh, okay. Well then I'll try out my flame.
yeah. You are able to switch it between all three colors.
Oh shit.
You are free to figure out what the fuck that does to people and things.
Well,
I'm
that's gonna
just
be
gonna
fun.
summon all three colors for a second and juggle little fireballs.
Now there's something.
That's kind of fucking neat.
This place is getting quite loud. Lovely. Might have some fun yet.
Hey,
Yeah.
third time for my fight.
What about your fight?
I need to go start a fight for baby.
I thought you guys had a fight out there. Someone threw a beer and then someone threw a punch.
Yeah, it's okay. Let's hit up the local tavern. You can try out your new powers and beat the shit out of people. It's gonna be great.
Oh, it's gonna be a fun time.
The Templar are right here. Come on.
I mean, the good news is at this point, probably don't have to walk. I'm pretty sure that the kobolds just crowd surface to the nearest pub.
But wouldn't it be funny to do it in a ballroom?
Maybe we set up our fight. That's what I.
Ballroom Blitz kinda sounds fun. I was originally thinking going and stirring up greed shit, but goddamn, that sounds like a good time.
Oh, don't worry. I'm gonna deal with his pompous ass later. I can't wait to see Luke's smug ass face when he shows up the first conversion.
Probably gonna
I'm very excited to see that.
Yeah, you're probably gonna have to arrange your You're probably gonna have to have a discussion with all the leaders of the factions, eh?
Well, absolutely. We've got the Royal Summit in a couple days, and I think it'd be wise to address the factions before that time.
Yeah, I'll have a chat with Mike, or I'll send some messages to Mike and see if there's any diplomacy that needs to happen before then.
Sounds like a reasonable idea.
I mean, I don't really want to talk to the Queen of the Glass Palace, but I will talk to my queen.
I'm not really looking forward to talking to any of them, but I do admit there's a small pleasure in the idea of the disdain of seeing someone of our lowly ranks climb to the top with them.
Ah,
One down, few to go.
That's how I like to look at it. And hey, just think about it. Now that you have the power that all the others have, maybe you stand a chance against her.
Very true.
I mean, we
Plus,
still need to. We
got
do need to
something I
figure
think
out
of.
how to actually kill her.
Oh, I have a feeling that now that we've got a little bit more insight into the situation, we'll have more opportunities to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know exactly what the fuck's up with her, but I know it's not entirely this world. Granted, I know Alice went to the journal and tell us a little bit more about that, but that's the thing for later. Sounds like we need to go start a fight to make Vosh just happy.
You guys have fun. Alice, do you want to go check out the archives with me?
I would love to.
And
I also need to go address the kobolds at some point. Let them know they're no longer the bottom of the food chain.
oh, I'm sure you're gonna get to mess with the food chain a whole lot around here.
You know, throw in some noodlings, break some chains. It'll be fun.
So, Soul,
Yeah.
which part are you going with?
Perfect.
Bar fight?
Perfect.
Yeah, I need to find something.
I promise to let you get a drink first. So who all's going?
You know what? I'm not gonna miss this. I'm gonna laugh for the entertainment.
Alice is gonna pull out a piece of paper and put some runes real quick on them and hand them over to Wreath. I'll join you in a moment. I don't want to miss this fight.
Fine, I'll come too.
You don't have to. I'll find my way to you if you don't want to, but
If nothing
Oh.
else, I'm pretty sure you'd like more than just the beer we have on the ship.
I mean, I mostly just drink the beer out of nostalgia. It doesn't really do much for me.
Even the nostalgia has effects on taste. I'm sure something else would probably taste better than beer.
Fine, I'll come
Can-
with.
Can I spend my Disney's token to glamour the party?
You absolutely can.
You're gonna what now?
Fantastic. Actually, what are the no that would probably take a time to figure out. But I was like, what would it take to ask Vasha? Like, if you want to see a bar fight, like, would you be able to give us the magic to glamour everyone? Or I'm just trying to remember the familiar system. I'll just spend the
Oh,
Disney's token for this time. I'll do more familiar research later.
You're just trying to make us look like someone else?
Mhm.
I mean, I can just look like someone else.
Oh, well then still, that's 4 targets.
I have a few
Wait,
kobold
5.
potions.
Are
do
we
Oh,
it
you're
for
not
you.
coming near me
kobolding
with
it?
any of those fucking potions.
Alright, fine.
Are we
I will
kobold?
happily take a kobold. I want to be a kobold. I want to be a scrappy kobold. That sounds so fun.
Wreath passes her a kobold potion.
And
I'm just gonna
when
be
you go to
me.
reach
This point-
for, go ahead. Sorry.
So it's just gonna be me. I don't need no damn potion. Pretty sure at this point I'd have diplomatic immunity.
When you reach for your
Pretty sure
potions,
that-
Wreath, you realize that they're not there anymore.
What?
They're gone.
Who the fuck stole
You
my
good, right?
potions?
Wait, someone pickpocketed you.
I'm as surprised as you are. That's new.
I didn't think it was fucking possible. I'm pretty sure you had eyes in the back of your head.
I mean, sometimes I do.
Also, can we just take a second to appreciate the fact that Soul is such a sub that he didn't take any Dom to get his powers? Thank you. So
I am
Meet
assuming
later.
I was not actually pickpocketed because I'm pretty sure that's impossible.
you were actually pickpocketed.
How?
There are ways.
Okay.
I promise it's not just random bullshit. Like, this is a thing that happened.
Remember, I can't. Nothing can be in contact with my clothes without me knowing.
Yeah.
Okay. Is anything else missing?
No.
Okay. Huh.
I've got a great idea.
You know what's that?
You lot go ahead and have your fight. I'm gonna start playing some music for your said fight.
You
Oh hell yeah!
Fire
Artificially
Fist
the
will play
coolest king.
Yeah, Fire Fist will play
Yes!
Ballroom Blitz for them.
I
So cool.
so Luna's kind of regained her form. She does. She's back to her glowy self. Vash is offering to make you disguises if you let her eat some of Luna's magic. I will
No.
warn.
No,
Um,
no. I'm
No.
multiples of no on this. No.
I will warn that will have chaotic and
No.
drastic effects.
I vote
Vasha will
no.
explode and die.
That's
That's
I'm
part of what
basically
happened.
giving you an "Are you sure?" if you want to do that.
Yeah, no, that would kill her. No.
I am gonna go with no.
What would Luna say for herself? Because
I
that's
don't-
what Tara would decide. Is letting Tara have her, or Tara would let Luna have her own choice.
Baby, I
It
don't
just
know if you
doesn't
can
seem
handle
like
that.
to me.
What was that?
Luna said, "Baby, I don't know if you can handle that.
Eh.
I don't know if that's a good idea."
I mean, to be fair, she could once.
Oh my god.
That's one way to get rid of familiar.
No.
Jim was like, "All right, let's see here." He cracks his knuckles, or I guess Orion's knuckles. It's like, "All right, let's see if I remember how to cast the magic." He like rubs his hands together, throws the sword up in the air, and when he catches it, who does want to be disguised?
I'll just disguise myself. I don't need help.
Yep. I am. Obviously gonna be doing that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be keeping my regular identity.
So
Don't know how to
is
play
Alice.
in this guy.
Alice is just gonna grab her cloak from like the bottom of it and like roll it around her head.
Are you just like, wait?
Nighttime. Daytime.
I just imagine, like, all we just see is like 7 layers of floof and then just an onion of fabric on their head. Solstice, what you doing? You taking whatever disguise Jimmy's giving you?
Sure.
Hell yeah. The D's Nuts token has been cast. The cost has been paid. As Jimmy catches the sword, everyone who said that they're going to get a disguise gets a massive glowing like crystalline white hat and a huge suit that is also completely white. He has given you the drip of God.
I look like I'm going to a
Oh,
cult
God.
meeting, Jimmy. What is this shit?
Listen, don't complain when the tailor's giving you a free suit.
All right, you make a fair point, man.
I'm sorry, I can never think of Jimmy without thinking of Jimmy from Grand Theft Auto, just like being in total shit.
Will you buy me a car? I'll not buy you a car, Jimmy. I'm
Will
gonna
you
die
buy
in
me
a
a
few weeks
car?
anyways.
Will you buy me a car? Will you buy me a
I'm gonna ask Saber to retrieve the car for me. Yo, the drip of God and anime on my side.
Yeah, exactly. That's not
Reef
yeah,
is
that's
just
not magic from the
a
waistband.
Reef is just a random brawly looking dude. Cute,
So
just a big guy.
so Firefist, what kind of music you playing at the bar?
Oh, it's cute up. He's a baller blitz.
Ta-da.
Jimmy like sets down his drink, goes over to Solstice, rips off his white glove, and slaps the shit out of him in the face.
Oh, I do say
And
so.
God,
How dare you do
motherfucker!
so- how- I do say, and he rips his glove and does the exact same thing back.
Oh, I say, and he just knees you in the chest.
All right, uppercuts him.
Tara runs in, grabs the curtain,
We lose you for a
pulls it
second.
out from the wall, and clothesline several people. Shit.
Hello, welcome back.
Let's give it a try. Hi.
There we go.
Tara takes a decorative curtain from the wall, pulls it out, and uses it to clothesline several people.
Random people are like
Ha!
piling onto you, Tara. You just like you get covered in just a bunch of like bar goers who have been bonked and some who haven't.
Reef meanders over and smacks a few of them off of Tara.
Firefist unbothered in his lane. Moisture eye.
Yeah.
Aw, you do care. Tara
Jimmy,
throws a thumbs up to let Firefist know she's okay.
Jimmy's gonna fucking gonna like half sword. He grabs the blade of the sword, just bonks the shit out of Solstice with the hilt.
Alice walks up behind Wreath and pulls out a failed pancake experiment out of her fucking ball of cloak that is it is somehow solid yet springy and just beans Wreath in the head with it.
You notice Reef's skull like bends in and then pops back out.
That's a cool party trick, and then she beans you again.
And this goes on for several minutes.
He's unbothered.
It's like when you see one of those guys who like
Yep.
plays songs by hitting like those punching bags, but it's just Alice hitting the pancake back and forth off of Reed's skull.
Using Reed's head with the pancakes to add drums of whatever Firefist is playing.
Oh my god, I love that!
There,
Reef grabs a chair and knocks out another patron with it.
hell yeah. You see, like, Jimmy be like, okay. Oh, I only want to do one thing. I just want to see Luna hit someone one time. I just want to see what happens. And he like
no.
hucks a plate at Luna, which like whacks her in the side of the skull as she's trying to enjoy her drink. We just feel like a disturbance in the force.
Oh no.
Oh no.
You just see her like raise her hand as like all of like if you have fur it raises, if you have hair it like kind of raises like static, and she slides her hand to the right of her, and just the tables like slam against the wall.
Reese fucks off.
You're just like,
Record scratch.
yeah. You're just like pinned against the wall with a table. There's like a fucking chair that's like slammed its way. Like the legs are slammed like on opposite sides of his throat. Like, okay, bad idea.
No.
You just see like as
Okay, let's
Luna
talk for
like
this.
as Luna like looks over, you just see like a blazing fury of her like eyes, you know. I'm trying to enjoy my drink. I would like to continue doing that. Thank you.
Okay.
Wouldn't be a Wizards game without Orion or Orion's body being beaten to shit.
You think it's a fucking fetish at this point?
It is. It probably. I'm not. I'm not a masochist. I just want to see my body can take it.
All right, Markiplier. Um, yeah, this bar fight is still underway for those of you who can still move and are not like nailed to a wall. Bar fight chair crucifixion style. But everyone stares very clear of the suspicious bean in the corner.
I would add more, but I think it is a good bit after 11.
Yes.
Want to do a quick check-in with folks?
I unfortunately do have to be up tomorrow
Yeah.
morning.
We'll leave it here.
Okay,
It was
I
a
had
bit
a
scuffed
feeling.
of a session. I do apologize for the bits where there were drops.
This is a fun end to it.
It was fine.
It's funny.
Yeah, that's
It happens.
it's the lull of the game, man. Like, it's not gonna be all like perfect all the time, fam.
Yeah.
Oh, how
Exactly.
dare
No, it needs to be
you.
perfect, and we will judge you.
Yep.
That's fair.
What you said.
I'm like I'm going to draw and apparently make maps.
Yay.
That looks so fucking awesome, by the way.
I go.
Notes are uploaded.
I go.
And yeah, Vath, for clarification, Vasha is like a creature of the waste. She doesn't run by like different magic rules though. She's just the magic that everyone else uses. I'm pretty sure if she ate part of Luna, she probably would explode. I didn't want to do that to her.
So that no more Fortnite, no more Russia.
Whatever
Naveen is
happens
happy.
would not be good.
It would be life ending for Vasha.
It would be at the very least not comfortable. I don't want to do that to the beam. But thank you for you guys' patience. I really appreciate that. And for helping me figure out what to do where I did not have anything. I do generally try and plan at least like a good like alternative or two. That is not always possible.
I mean, there with as much improv as DMing asks for, that is totally fair.
Yeah.
You play really nice.
Here, have a fun and have a hee-hoo, and I had a blast.
Yeah. And now Firefist is a king.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Come here, give me your blood.
Oh my god.
What do they say? The blood of the Fire Fist is thicker than the.
I mean, we've just
It's thick, but
established
not as thick as.
that drinking the blood of another monarch gives you their power.
That's true.
Yeah, maybe Tara's not gonna get that second sample.
Why? You don't want a second person to have royal power?
Or, someone else to get a hold of it that's not Tara, considering the only person in the party who can't be pickpocketed was pickpocketed.
Yeah, that is a bit concerning, especially if it was the only vials of liquid he had.
So yeah,
No,
it's
my
totally
Kiwi
fine.
get a hold of it. No, my Kiwi get a hold of it and chug it.
And the funniest
do
part
not
is,
need
I
that.
know exactly what that would do. I've actually thought of that. So, anyway, we're gonna rate Distant Medium. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. We'll be back either with more Resident Evil next week, or I'll force everybody to play Garfield card. Goodbye.